boys are going to bring the heat today.
As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Booner, Lukas. It is Friday, January 31st. Listen, it's a Friday show. We don't have Pick'em this week. Pick'em's back next week, but we have things to get into. Scottie Montgomery was interviewed, not hired, but interviewed by the Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk about that. We're going to get into some topics today that I think it'll be good conversation. A couple of them having to do with players that have the most improved next year. We'll get into all that. But fellas, how are we doing on Friday? How are we feeling?
Feel great. Feel amazing. I feel like $1 million.
You sound like it. Boone, you sold that. You sold that like a fucking bag.
Did I? Sound good?
Feel great. Feel amazing. Nah, but I'm trolling you.
No, yeah.
Good Friday, though. Good Friday, though, fellas.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get through another day, brother. Another day.
Yeah, it's just another day. Just another day. No,
the off season.
We got great things to talk about today. I'm fired up for it. Although we don't have Pick'em, we'll get into some NFL stuff later in the show to kind of replace Pick'em. That I do think. I mean, we have Des Bryant and Kayvon beefing on Twitter. We got Kellen Moore, might be the Saints head coach. So it'll be a good show. But I want to start with no, go ahead, Boo.
I'd say it is just a weird, like, it's the off season, but it's like a weird part of the off season. Like, there's still the Super Bowl to go, so there's not like many like player moves. Like, there's nothing really happening now. Like, coaching staffs are good. It's like I feel like the next week or two, it's like, what's going on? Like the Lions, they've made their hires. I guess the wide receivers coach, we wait for that, but it's just a weird part of the season. Like, we're not going to have any free agent hirings or like rumors. The draft really isn't yet. We had the Senior Bowl Sunday, but I don't know. It's at least
it's what it's going to be like 3 weeks, maybe a month. I mean, 5-6 years ago, we were waiting 2 months for this whole thing to happen.
Yeah,
so
it was the worst 2 months of all time too.
We've been here before as Lions
sure.
fans. We know what this is all about. Usually, we'd have like 15 mock drafts done by now, just zeroed in on all the right prospects, and by combine, it seems like you're halfway through the offseason at that point.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're in that. See, I can't wait. Like tomorrow, boys. Like we're going to the Tyler Conklin Foundation. That's pumped. Like it's off season stuff. It's cool that what we do. It's like there's some off season stuff we get to do. That's one like some like foundations and different events, and we get to do that tomorrow. So yeah, if you're not doing anything tomorrow, downtown Detroit Townhouse.
I mean, the link's in the description. If you want to, give it to a good cause, donate to a good cause. The link's in there. If you're not, you don't have to be attending the event. You're more than welcome to coming out with us. We'll be down there noon to 3. But if you just want to help out, there's other ways to do that. Tyler Conklin, all his social medias. I think I have to get the actual Venmo name or I think it's that or Cash App, but it all goes to charity.
You think Aaron Rodgers is there tomorrow?
What would you say?
Not a chance. 0%.
No, you don't think so?
0%.
Aaron quarterback. It's his guy.
Oh,
these guys! Hey, I'll tell you what. Some of these players, man. Some of these guys, they hop on jets. They're everywhere, dude. I was thinking about it the other day, dude.
With the way that Wizard had Aaron Rodgers is, he's not getting on a plane.
Dude, I think Aaron Rodgers might hop on a plane, dude. I was thinking about like the people like at that level, like when I went to this Lil Wayne thing yesterday. It's like think about that was like a private concert that I was at. Think about how many times some of these people fly around the country and get paid millions just to do a random like party or a random private thing. And it's like they hop on this massive jet. It's like Aaron Rodgers could easily hop on a jet for a day and go make this trip.
I think the last place he wants to be right now is Detroit, Michigan. If I'm Aaron Rodgers.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's the off season. Like, Detroit's whooped his ass last couple of years. He ain't trying to come back to Detroit, man.
It's for a good cause, Jeff Iafrate.
Yeah, but then throw some money. Hey, he's got plenty of money.
Donate.
Yeah,
donate.
Donate.
He can donate if he wants to.
Hey,
I really don't want to. I don't really like. I'd rather meet other people besides Aaron Rodgers. But
I would love it. He's one of the greatest of all time at the end of the day. As much as
Klotz, stop lying.
I would be like, wow, that's Aaron Rodgers. Like that's.
I would
dope,
definitely be like, what's up, Aaron?
Like, I'm not
Booner.
saying it wouldn't be cool, but there's people that I'd rather meet besides Aaron Rodgers. There'd be numerous Lions players I'd rather meet before Aaron Rodgers. Amon-Ra, Aiden. I think golf at this point I would probably rather meet than.
Where's Jameer Gibbs? Didn't even mention him.
Wow.
I was getting there. I don't
know,
Jameer,
dude. You took a while
Brian
to get there, to
Branch.
be honest.
Took a while.
I think Anzo would be cool to meet. Then I'd probably throw in Aaron Rodgers. I've never been like, I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is not like a first ballot Hall of Famer. I've just never been an Aaron Rodgers fan.
No, that's fair.
Like, I've never cared for Aaron Rodgers.
He was the Packers quarterback our whole life, so it makes sense.
Tim,
I have no desire.
Tim, we appreciate you. Thank you for the $5. Says I think it's time Sewell gets moved to left tackle. Have to protect Goff's blind side better. Love Deck, but he lost a step. Put Sewell at left tackle and move Deck to right tackle. I mean, you're going to have to do that at some point, right? I mean, that's the future. He's your left tackle. I don't know if it's next year, but at some point that will happen. He's going to play left. Yeah,
do they wait until Taylor Decker hangs it up to move him? Like, that's the question, right? Like,
I know at some point if he's only getting worse, then yeah, you make the move sooner than later. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Has Taylor Decker ever played right tackle? Like how the transition?
No.
We talk about the footwork and all of that.
Yeah, he's never played right tackle. So that's
a transition for two of your tackles, basically.
I wouldn't be mad with an offensive tackle taken in the first round. I'd rather have an edge.
Klotz, I was about to say, I'm going to mute you. And I'm going to remove you right now. Don't do that. You're my CPO. You're my CPO. It's all hashtag edge to the D.
You should trust me that when I'm making these statements, okay?
You worried
not thinking about removing me from the damn stream, all right?
That was scary. That was a scary moment in my life right there. You know what?
Trust.
That was a scary moment
chemistry.
in my life.
I'm not going to Ben Johnson you, okay?
All right. Hey, don't Liam Cohen me too, man.
Sam, for my guy, says Cade with a great first half, or should I say All-Star Cade? Yeah, Cade, you know what?
Wow. He's got 18 in the first half. 18 in the first half.
I could do that at 20 probably. Cade at 18, I'd have 20.
There was a guy I follow that places all these parlays, and one of them had Cade in it, 25. And I was like, ooh, that's gonna smack.
Meet 7 in the second.
Did you dabble?
No, it was plus like 1,000.
Dude, I've been putting on this. I'm telling you guys, I put the same Pistons parlay on every single time they play. It's literally just K20, Malik Beasley 13, Jalen Duren 8 or 10, depending on what the number looks like. And then Cade Cunningham over under like 11.5 rebounds and assists. Hits like every night, dude. I've hit it like 3 out of the last like 4 games or something. So I've moved maybe a couple around, but like it's just every time plus 300. Boom, boom.
Nice little breakfast on the morning that's paid for every time you wake up.
It's beautiful, dude. That's my coffee.
Gas tank money. Come on,
man. Yeah. Every time they play. Yeah, dude, every time.
Okay, it is, man. He's just dependent. He's a star. All-star.
Go ahead. Grab the bobblehead. Oh, you want to.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that yesterday.
It's over. It's watching over me.
Cade Cunningham, congratulations. We didn't have that conversation. We talked about it with Eric.
No, we didn't.
On the show.
We did have Eric in there.
That's big time.
Yeah, no, it is. It's huge. I mean, it's awesome. I finally get some sort of fucking recognition. I remember his rookie year, and I was on the front lines fighting that battle. So, and you know what? To see where he is now, getting at least some recognition, like Trae Young's on an All-Star, it's awesome. So, congratulations to Cade. And I just saw I didn't
off to the side.
Yeah,
when Jeff started talking, we have a private chat, and Booner said, "Cook Jeff, let me see your ball knowledge." And dude's had like a 15-second like.
He literally just goes,
like,
"Happy for you." I'm happy for you. Congrats.
Well, I mean, we could get into it now. I didn't know we were actually having.
This is your moment. This is your. Think if Unc was here, and this is why it sucks that it's not a pick Friday because then Unc could be here.
You want to hear my thoughts on the Pistons?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I want to hear it. I mean, they're playing an unbelievable ball. Actually, not the last few games.
No,
Cade's an all-star.
Yeah, Cade's an all-star. Like that's. Hey, listen, Cade being an all-star is awesome. All right, and we all agree the dude's special. Like that's the one guy that we could talk about him, but at the end of the day, you're getting the same dude every night. Did you see what happened to Isaiah Stewart? Suspended officially for, I think, a game. And this is the thing I'm trying to battle with Isaiah Stewart. and I would love to ask Caleb this to see where he's at as well. But for me personally, I love the heart. I love the attitude. I think that's valuable, right? Especially in Detroit. That's what embodies the history of the Detroit Pistons is bad boys having an attitude. But at some point, when you're as good as he is, especially this year at being a paint defender, and the Pistons do need him, quite frankly, why is this man getting into these pointless back and forth and finding ways to get ejected when he gets a flagrant 2 or some unnecessary foul? Like that's the thing I'm getting frustrated with. And this is a guy that's, by the way, he's making a pretty good amount of money. So, and it's bobblehead night for Isaiah Stewart. So like
that's tough, dude.
For me, the antics.
Gotta switch the night.
For me, the antics, like I'm okay with them, but I think Eric brought up a great point. Like when Rasheed Wallace got into these situations and he'd get a tech, that's someone that, again, following that tech or following whatever happened with Rasheed Wallace, he would take over a game, or he already had the resume to do that. He was an all-star with Portland. He was already a very good player. Like, that's someone that can get away with that shit because of how good Rasheed Wallace was. Like Isaiah Stewart, all due respect, he's not Rasheed Wallace. He's not close. He's a solid backup big that plays with a lot of energy, a lot of heart. But to me, like his level of play isn't to the point where I'm willing to just let these go. Like getting ejected from games or getting suspended. I don't think he's earned that. That's what I get frustrated with. It's not the attitude, the edge, but like just finding ways. Like, again, I think it's his 6th. I have to double check, but there's a certain limit of flagrant 2s you can get before you're suspended. I think that's what the suspension's about. It's like, what are we doing, man? Isaiah Stewart, as much as I love the attitude, the energy. Let's just kind of just cool down a little bit. You know, let's chill out. We need you on the court. Pistons are in a playoff chase. In the last 6-7 games, there's been more lows than highs. So we got to get back into the win column. Get back to where they were 2 weeks ago. So that's where I'm at with Isaiah. It's like, again, I understand he plays with energy, he plays with heart.
Yeah, don't take that away from him, Jeff.
You know what they need, Jeff? I didn't mean to go so.
Feel back a little bit, okay?
Well, it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere for me as well. You know how they can kind of balance this out? Where's Pat Bev staying at right now?
He's in Israel.
He's in Israel. You bring him back home for pennies at the trade deadline, and you let him on the bench.
Actually, love that, dude.
Him at the same, because Pat
that.
Bev would be like, Stu, like, let's calm down a little bit. And if Pat Bev's telling you that, I think Stu would be like, oh, okay. And then they'd have enough. They'd be able to balance each other out, have the chemistry. You bring Pat Bev home. You let him have another little I'm the man moment on the bleachers, whatever he wants to do. You let Pat Bev be Pat Bev. And Stu can take notes because Pat Bev wasn't getting suspended that much. Junkyard dog, bona fides. What the
I have a
Detroit
question
Pistons
for
want to
you.
be about.
Will I get to experience the Patrick Beverly standing on the scores table after a play-in win? Do I get that in the signing?
You get Pat Bev.
Not only that, but you get a Matthew Dellavedova-esque playoff run once they get there.
I'm in.
I can promise you that.
Dude,
if I can get him standing on the scores table and just after they win a play-in game,
it'll be Stu. It'll be Stu.
Him and Stu standing up there together.
Yeah. I'm like crying. I'm like,
Stu gets up there and leans down to help Pat Bev step up, grabs his hands.
That's how it's going to feel. They win a play-in game. I would be just.
You go. I was thinking you were gonna be like, he's in Utah, he's in Sacramento. You go, he's in Israel. Was not.
He is. No, I think he's playing in Israel. I mean, there was obviously the wars or whatever was going on over there, and he was like, I'm sticking it out and playing. He's like, I love the ownership here. They because he does his podcast with Roan at Barstool, and a great podcast. I love watching it. But they were going through it over there in Israel, and he was just like, I'm sticking it out. Like, I guess there was a bomb that went off at some point over the last year there, and he had mentioned when he went over there, if anything like that happens, he's gone. And then it happened, and he's like, I'm staying, I'm playing. He was like, all my teammates, he's like, a bunch of my teammates from America left, and he's like, I'm sticking it out. So I was like, all right, hey, respect to Pat Bev, dude. And too, with the Stu stuff, I don't Jeff, I get what you're saying, but there is a point where it's like, hey, if you're not availability is the best ability, right? Is that the saying?
Yeah, especially when they need what he brings.
Yeah. So I don't want to take away him getting the text and all that. I'm all in on that. But the flagrant 2 though, like when you have that and you're getting suspended, that's a problem. Like I love, I don't think, and this is, I guess, just my what I hate about today's NBA is Stu throwing his elbow into what's his name. That should not be a flagrant 2. This is a contact sport. This is a professional sport. You should be able to run your elbow through someone on a screen or something, and he can fall over. You should be able to do that. You should. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm old school. I don't know. But you should be able to run through a screen. You should be able to fight for a rebound and accidentally elbow someone without getting kicked out of a game. You should. That's part of playing basketball without having restrictions. And they've changed the game. Again, this is just me getting mad about the game getting changed.
No. I want to hear more.
I just hate it. It's dude, what Stu did there, that should not have been a flagrant 2 and kicked out of the game. I want to be able to, you should be able to throw a couple of bows. We're turning into a soft game because guys don't want to get hurt and guys flop and this and that. It's no, what Stu does, I love it. I love what he does. And the only problem with it, Jeff, is to your point, you're not available for your team tonight and you're suspended. That's literally the only problem. The way he goes about stuff, him running through guys, talking to guys, maybe a little bit at sometimes is excessive. But to me, I love it. I think that fires the team up. The guys rally behind that. And around the league, people are starting to look at the Pistons hey, that's a team you do not want to mess with. And I think there's a point where right now there are players like Miles Turner and the Tyrese Halliburtons and some of those guys who are laughing right now about it, but oh, blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of trolling them about the Legos and all of that. But I think once it gets to a point in this Pistons organization, the next 2 or 3 years is winning 50 plus games a year. And you have that mentality that Beef Stew has right now. And he is absolutely they're all talking. They're all, running through screens and, getting texts here. That is the type of basketball to me. It's that's Detroit basketball. And I don't want Stu to take away. I don't want him to take a step back. To him, there are certain things maybe he shouldn't do so he doesn't get suspended. But man, all of that talking, running through guys, keep doing that. That's what teams should be built around. If you want to be a tough team, look at the Warriors for those years that they were winning. Draymond never cared if he got a tech. Never. Now, it did get to a point with Draymond, I will say, where he was, hitting his teammates and he was doing some crazy stuff. But I loved Draymond through those years of throwing bows, running through screens, blowing stuff up. I loved that. That's the type of ball
Steven
that I
Adams.
Yeah, there's no Jeff. If you say I want to say this. Your next words, be very careful what you say because I don't want to have to call you soft live on air.
No, I was going to agree with you with Draymond, but Draymond is a defensive player of the year, of potential Hall of Fame.
What do you want Isaiah Stewart to be? A great defensive player.
Just don't have a career high in ejections, disqualifications, techs, personal fouls. I mean, can we not have a career high?
That's his game. That's his game.
That's not a game. If you listen,
there's a million guys like Draymond who literally have a career based off just defense and being that type of guy. There's like Klotz said, Steven Adams. You're hurting your team because you're not playing tonight. But I'll take techs. As a coach, I'll take a tech if that means Isaiah Stewart's out there setting the tone for your team. I love that tech.
But Boone, he has all the things I just named. He has career highs in. It's half the season.
That means he's playing hard.
No. I love it.
Yes.
He's playing hard, but you don't look at that and say he's playing hard. Those are the things you're not supposed to do. A couple here or there is fine. You show some heart. But Boone, Eric said yesterday that even Cade was dude, after another tech, he's
again.
Chill the hell out.
There are times where it's they
get frustrated at Isaiah. They get
again. There are times where he needs to take a step back. After he gets ejected, all of that stuff after, it was okay, just get off the court at this point. But I mean, I saw a video of them in a timeout and Stu looking to the other thing and screaming at the guy, I got you. I love that stuff, dude.
Okay. I like that.
When you ask him, hey, take it a notch down, there is a certain level to where it's you don't want him to go too far to where he's not that type of guy anymore. You want that. Yeah. That's what you want. And that's where I'm worried. It's I don't want Stu to not be that guy. But I get it. There is a level to it, but just find that level. Find that level. Yeah. I love that. I love that basketball.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to correct myself. He doesn't have more personal fouls this year than he has in his entire career. He's on pace for more personal fouls.
Yeah, get that right there, Jeff. Don't try to slander my guy.
He has 110. The most he's ever had is 211. So
one of my favorite moments in an NBA game 2 years ago, Pistons Lakers. I had season tickets at the time. Isaiah Stewart versus LeBron James, a bloody Isaiah Stewart running around trying to get to LeBron. It was one of my favorite moments. I've been to a million NBA games,
Queen showed
100 plus NBA games. That was my favorite one. Now, outside of seeing Kobe, that was my favorite one because, dude, it was unbelievable. And I think LeBron got ejected too. Stu and LeBron.
It'd be like one-on-one, probably Isaiah minus 245, if I had to guess.
Oh, dude. Yes, Stu. Yes.
LeBron's so soft.
Oh, my gosh.
He ain't about it.
back
Isaiah
with
Stewart
the
would
Cleveland
dominate.
days, Miami days, maybe. LA Bron's soft as fucking child shit.
Did you guys remember that day?
Yeah.
What day?
The day
Isaiah Stewart, LeBron elbowed him, bloody face, and just kept chasing.
I wasn't watching the game live or anything, but I do remember it happening.
Dude, I was at the game, and it was like once it started settling down a little bit, and then you just hear the crowd, and it just Stu just sprinting at Bron, and then they get him in control, and then it's like 30 seconds later, all you hear is everyone just go, and you're running at LeBron again. He did it like I think on TV you saw it only maybe once they got it. I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong. It was so long ago, but I think Beef Stew ran at LeBron and their team 4 times. Like I think he just kept going.
That's who they need on the other side of Hutch.
And then, and this wasn't shown.
That we need.
Yeah, and this wasn't shown on TV too. When it started slowing down and ending, you could see, like, you could watch Stu run to the tunnel, and you see him screaming out LeBron, me, and then all of a sudden you just see him sprint out the back of the tunnel, and everyone on the bench starts chasing him down the tunnel because he was trying to go around the tunnel to get him from behind. I don't think anyone talked about that, and I was like, "This is crazy! Like, someone needs to get a camera backstage right now. This is a WWE event."
Yeah, that's
it's just LeBron walking up the tunnel and Stu sprinting around.
Hey, Stu's from Rochester, New York. He's about it, man. He wants to see you outside. That's and LeBron was like, "Hold on, like, are we?" I don't know about that. I don't think I'm trying to handle that. Isaiah Stewart wanted that. He wanted that smoke. I love the heart and the Pistons, man. Like, they're up right now against the Mavericks. Like, it's fun to watch the team, and we still have a couple weeks till the trade deadline. I mean, it's coming up soon, actually, to be honest. Not too far away.
Yeah, no, it's 7 days away. It's February 6th.
Yeah,
I believe.
So we got a week. But hey, there you go. Pistons talk.
Hey.
We'll say
that.
That
felt good, huh?
Let me show you guys this, right? It's confirmed, right? I mean, Tanner Engstrand's gone. We already knew that. He's taking the job with the Jets. Jets already made a post about it on their social medias. Do you guys think there's yes? Okay, I'll ask you this question. Does Tanner Engstrand return as a part of the Detroit Lions staff within 3 years?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Repeat the question?
That's a tough one.
Does Tanner Engstrand end up back on the Lions within 3 years?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
I do think, as much as, and this is where I go back and forth with Tanner. We just again, this is just one of those things with Tanner. We haven't seen him call plays yet. So they're like, he's a first-time play caller, and he's going in there with a defensive-minded head coach with AG. And yeah, they have a relationship. Tanner is literally in that building. Tanner is like the head of all offense. It's not like he has Dan Campbell there to help him out. He doesn't have Ben Johnson. It is Tanner Engstrand that is running this whole offense. And they're going to obviously have guys in there and coaches in there that are going to be able to help him. But we don't know what he's going to be like. I'll say this, Jeff. I do think he ends up being successful. I think he ends up being a good OC. I don't know who their quarterback is going to be next year, but they do have weapons. And even if things go bad, like, can you blame Tanner at that point, depending on the quarterback situation? So obviously it's like things are up in the air, but I do think, like, I'm confident that Tanner's going to be able to be a good OC in the NFL. Just based off of seeing what Dan Campbell coaches have done with AG and Ben Johnson. I feel like being in that building with AG, he's going to turn that thing around. And if you think AG is going to turn that thing around, boys, and you're confident in that, that means Tanner as well is going to be a part of that process.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. When I think of maybe coming back, he'd have to get fired in New York. Things wouldn't be looking good. So he's obviously not going to come back and be the offensive coordinator unless something's bad in Detroit or John Morton, the Johnny Mo show, becomes the head coach. So, I mean, it would have to be a bad situation for Detroit. And I think even if Tanner did have the opportunity, like if he were to be let go by the Jets, I don't know why you'd want to come back to Detroit. I'd rather be like, okay, I proved myself there, but I need to prove myself legitimately somewhere else. I feel like going back to Detroit is kind of taking a step back, not because it's a bad place to be, but he's going to be in a smaller role than he just was. Like maybe he can be an OC for another team or at least a passing game coordinator. I think the Detroit Lions will already have somebody solid in place during that time. And they just brought in David Shaw to be their passing game coordinator. So he's not going to be coming back and replacing him. So I don't think it's be happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I see. Steve said they think he's a bum or would have promoted him. I mean,
that's the interesting thing, though. Like, I have a theory. I do have a theory with the offense. I think I've already told you guys. I think Dan wanted to go experience on offense. I know that sounds great. I just think in his mind, it's obvious, like bringing in the guys he brought in. I just think he wanted an experience going into next year offensively. Maybe, and I've seen this on Twitter, boys. And this is, I want to say this. This is not a Booner statement. This is a observation that I saw on Twitter of other people making observations about observations.
That was easy to follow.
Dan Campbell maybe didn't like Ben Johnson's play calling all around. These are observations. I read this on not Twitter, sorry, on X. People observing and observers observing. Maybe he didn't like Ben Johnson's play calling in certain moments. And guess what? You know what I thought of right away when I saw that?
What's up, Boone?
Klotzy.
They're getting too cute.
4th and 1. There's a point to where the trick plays here and there with J-Mo. I think Dan didn't mind trick plays. Maybe there was moments throughout the seasons, the timely things or certain plays where Dan was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And Dan's the guy that will never say it. He takes full responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone in that building can mess up. Dan be like, that was on me, man. I need to be better.
Yeah. And I'm all for that. Like I've said, boys, it's not that I do not want Johnny Morton to be like crashing out in Detroit and be a failure. No, I obviously want him to succeed. That's the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, so I hope he's a damn good one. But if he's in a situation where even in bringing David Shaw, the passing game coordinator, like when he was in Stanford, like it was a pro style offense. Like they ran the ball. They did play action. They obviously threw the ball. Like he had Andrew Luck putting up crazy numbers. But then when you look at Johnny Morton, I think if he's able to, like Boone just said, not take away the way that the offense has been playing, but dumb down the offense, like where it's like, okay, let's not make things so complicated. Like if we as Lions fans are saying that this offense is getting too cute, Dan Campbell realizes that as well. When you say they're getting too cute, like that's not Lions football. Lions football is smash mouth, physical football. And those are moments where it's like, okay, yeah, that's a great concept. And even if it does work, like that's great, but that's not what the Lions were. And it's great to have balance and being able to surprise teams. But I think you can go about that in different ways. And I just think even if it's have a different concept in running the ball because it's 4th and 1 and throw teams off with the way that you have the run block concept. I think that's what the Detroit Lions need. And Booner, to your point, veteran guys, 55-year-old guys, 50-year-olds, the guys that have been around the league, they're going to have that play style. And like all these guys are linked to John Gruden. That's what John Gruden was all about, just smash mouth football, running the ball. So this is what I hope happens with the Lions, Boone. That's best case scenario, and I hope that's what happens. So I hope these allegations, I know you said it's not you making a statement, but not allegations.
I just read
observations.
I just read observations, people observing things on X. Because think about this, boys. Alrighty, let me break this down for you real quick. Let me put this very simply for you. Games like the Texans, right? The Bills game, the game you just lost a couple weeks ago versus the Commanders. What are some of the complaints you hear in those games? How many times Jared's throwing it situationally instead of running the ball with Jameer on even first down? You know, they're making Jared Goff putting Jared Goff in spots where he makes mistakes. And the games Jared plays really well, those are the games where he's like putting in spots where they're very balanced offense, running the ball, passing the ball, you know, screen, like very balanced. In the games you could tell, like this Commanders game, like, yeah, And I know a lot of people were on Twitter were like complaining, like saying, well, Saquon got the same amount of carries as Gibbs. Why are Lions fans complaining? Like, again, different games. Like, it's different games. Like, you probably should have gone the run game a little bit more in that game, in my opinion. Like, there's times and places for things. And it maybe felt like when you look at the John Mortons of the world, like you said, Klotzy, he's going to know when to put guys in certain positions and, hey, we need to run the ball here. We need to do this. Like, we need a more balanced offense instead of really making these big. Starting to see the light a little bit. So,
and especially with like Jahmyr, if you want to bring up how many carries he got with Saquon, like Saquon, especially the first run, like that was a whole drive of carries. Not to mention he didn't have a David Montgomery who was not healthy, kind of getting in the way of that. Like, obviously David Montgomery, you want to have the football in a big moment when he's healthy. But when you see that it's not David Montgomery, like it was clear by the middle of the second quarter, like David Montgomery's there, but that's not David Montgomery.
No,
now you're giving him multiple carries, snaps, even if it's in pass blocking. Like Jahmyr Gibbs proved he can lay people on their ass in pass blocking, and David Montgomery's in there. And that sounds terrible to say, but you're keeping the best player off the field in order to keep that same Sonic and Knuckles. Like, no, like, dude, it's in the playoffs. David Montgomery's hurt. Like, abandon that for right now. It'd be great if you can go back to it next week, but They needed to have Jahmyr in that full game. Obviously not every snap, but they needed to keep him in rhythm.
I'm sorry, Jeff. I just want to throw one more thing. I know you're about to cook. I'm sorry. Me and Klotz here are just going back and forth. We're playing pinball, and you're the ball in the middle going back and forth. Like the Bills and Texans game though. Like, what was one of the things that they were struggling? It was like running the ball. It's like I just feel like next year with the offensive staff you have, with Scottie coming back, Hank Fraley coming back. Hank Fraley being more involved in the play calling and in the offense, these guys, like, it feels like that's going to be the bigger priority. And the games you've lost this year or almost lost, the Texans and Bills, like those were at post game. When we do those post game shows, we're like, hey, what was wrong? Like the Texans, why are you down 3 scores? Oh, it's because your team's not running the ball well and you're starting to force plays. And Jared Goff throws 5 interceptions because you're having to force instead of, this is who we are. This is who we are. This is what we're about. Bills game. Couldn't run the ball at all. Guess what happens? Turns into a quick shootout because you end up going down 2 or 3 scores and you have to throw it. And it's like, you don't get in those positions if you find a balanced offense. I feel like we're going at Ben. That's not it. Ben was elite. Like, he had one of the best offenses, but it's just about like, eventually when you're playing that high level of an offense and airing it out, doing these different trick plays, like eventually it's going to bite you in the, what, right? Like when it doesn't work, it's a big explosion. Like it's going to fall apart pretty quick if it doesn't work. And you saw that versus the Texans, you saw it versus the Bills, and you saw it versus the Commanders. When things hit the fan, it's tough because it's going to be back to back turnovers.
Yeah, it's like, this is where I'm struggling with this, if I'm being honest with you guys. People, and maybe it's not me. This isn't necessarily at you guys. I'm just talking to like the Lions fan stratosphere.
Sorry, you can talk to us as well.
But this is where my confusion comes from. So it's more like you guys. I'm talking to like get it off my chest. So I want to know if I'm crazy on this. I keep getting told that Dan Campbell. Oh, and John Macaroon said it, the doc. Dan Campbell's the real offensive mind. Okay, he's the guy. He's the genius behind all this. But then when Ben's calling plays, it's like he's absolved from any responsibility. Do you see why that's confusing to me? For example, we mentioned the trick plays. Like, oh yeah, Ben's just calling too many trick plays. So are we all gonna agree then Dan has no input on the trick plays? So now we're back to Dan isn't the offensive genius, or is he? Because if he is, I bet you guys they're game planning for that Commanders game. Like, he knows about these trick plays that they're gonna have, or at least they have in the playbook. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm confused with like people in general, or some Lions fans, when they say this, they're like, oh, put all the blame on Ben. But then but then they'll also give Dan all the credit. But he doesn't get any blame. Does that make sense? Like,
it does. I think Dan always is the final say, like, especially like on those punt trick plays, like all of those, like Dan, and he's made it well known that he's involved in all of that very heavily. I don't think it's more like, at least for me with Ben, I don't think it's just strictly the trick plays. I think those are fine. Like, I think they work. I just think it's more so situational play calling or the balance of the offense. That's kind of what I move towards. I could be completely wrong. I maybe need to go look at each game and see how the balance looked. But like Jeff, the Bucs game you lost, like that's where I go to. Like you threw the ball 50 times with Jared Goff. You didn't need to. You're in the red zone 7 times.
For example, like in that game specifically, would we agree that if the game is going the way it's going and you're at halftime, you don't think Dan's going up to bed and being like, all right, we got to take the ball out of Goff's hands?
Oh, 100%. But who's still at the end of the day? Yes, but at the end of the day, like they both have a say in the offense, right? Dan has a big say in the offense, but I think it comes down at the end of the day to the play calling. And it's like we can't act like Ben didn't have any pull on that offense. Like if he went to like if Dan went up to him, hey, they're talking about it. Ben could like it doesn't mean Ben can't be like, hey Dan, I think we should do this. And Dan's like, okay, I trust you. Like, yeah, that always does fall back on Dan. And that's the point to where at end of games, if you lose or Dan's always going to step up and say, hey, that was on me. I needed to step in and say this. And like he has said that before. He has said it in post games. He has said it in his press conferences on Mondays or Tuesdays when he talks to to the media. He has stepped up and said, hey, I needed to step in there and I needed to say, hey, we need to run the ball more. Or I needed to step in there and we were running the ball too much and we need to start, doing something different. Like he has said that throughout this year. So I think, like Jeff, to your point, when you hear those things, like when you hear Dan be like, hey, I should have stepped in, that right away makes you know, like Ben does have full, at moments, he has the full offense at his hands. But there are times, like again, final decision does come down to Dan. And that's when Dan does step in and say, hey, that was on me. I should have said something and I should have changed it.
And I'm glad you said that's what I believe in. Like, I think it's Ben's offense, man. Like, and now for the people out there, like I get Dan is a bright man offensively. That's my point. Because again, if Dan is a part of the offense as much as people say, and he's involved in the game planning, then he deserves blame too for how things look.
Yeah.
But if he's not, like I think he is, but I think Ben's has a lot to do with the offense, and he gets blamed. Like I agree with that. I'm not looking.
To your point though, Jeff. No, I agree. And like again, Dan's made those mistakes, and again, that falls on Dan when he's trusted Ben Johnson to make those calls and make those decisions. Hey, we need to do this more. We need to do this, and again. When those are wrong, Dan's the one that steps up and says, I could have stepped up and said something. I didn't. That's on me. But again, that's a younger coordinator, right, Jeff? Like Ben was going to have mistakes at times, correct?
Yeah,
like he was a younger coordinator in the NFL. So Dan leaned on a younger coordinator and you had to go through those growing pains. Even in year 3, Ben made mistakes where you're like, and we sat there and Jeff, we sat there and watch parties and you've questioned like, what is Ben doing here? Like, and then you could tell that's a young coordinator making those mistakes. Like you're only in year 3 as a coordinator in the NFL. A guy like John Morton, who's been in the NFL for 20 plus years and the staff that he has, I think with the experience and him as a vet, it's someone where Dan's able to trust a little bit more, or when he does put those decisions consistently in that and it got John Morton's hands. Maybe John Morton's not as good of a play caller or a scheme maker as Ben Johnson, but the side of it to where it's, hey, I can trust John's going to make those decisions and he's not going to make those mistakes. Yes. That's the big thing. Now, like Klotz on the 3rd and 1s.
I agree, but that would mean, and we can all agree that Dan is the CEO. He's not like the offensive genius behind the offense. Can we agree with that?
Right.
Like,
yeah, I do think there's a side where Dan has been very helpful.
But then we got to give him blame too.
This is how we.
I'm giving him blame.
I'm
giving Dan blame as well. I think you're like looking for us to give like a certain amount of blame. Like no, everyone's to blame in those situations. If we want to get into percentages, we can.
I know, but let me finish. I want to say this.
We're just talking about Ben though. We can have a different Dan conversation if you want.
My point is when you bring up Ben in the offense and like, not running the ball enough or the trick plays. My point is if Dan, I'm not saying this like, but it's really, you're not alone on this. There's a lot of Lions fans I've seen say the same shit. And Doc said it too. If Dan's as involved in the offense as people think he is, then it's Ben and Dan fucking up and doing these trick plays.
100%. But we're having the conversation about Ben. We can have the Dan conversation later. This is about Ben. Like Ben still can deserve blame in some of those moments. Yes, that's the point we're making.
My overall point, I'm just saying that to see Dan's not going to be, he's involved in the offense. Like John Morton's going to be calling plays. If things fuck up this year, in my opinion, it's on John Morton. Dan empowers his coordinators. So when Ben makes mistakes, it's on Ben. Like that's how I've always believed. I'm just using this to like call out people that want to give Dan like all the credit, but none of the blame. Not you, Booner.
No,
you're taking this to like you.
I think it's an easy way to look at it is imagine if what does Dan drive? F-150, doesn't he?
Yeah, 250.
Probably
okay, so let's say Dan Campbell buys an F-250. Okay, that F-250 is the Lions offense. It's a nice fucking truck, elite parts, whatever you want to say. He's got to pick somebody to be his driver now, though. So you put Ben Johnson in there. How do you think a 30-year-old guy is going to drive a truck versus compared to a 50-year-old guy in John Morton? Ben's probably going to fly a little bit more, take some more chances. He'll get there quicker. John Morton, steady, probably has been in that situation before. Nothing really exciting for him. It hasn't been like this is a new situation now. And they're like, no, he's probably driven that truck before in a different situation. But if one of them were to get in an accident, it's on the guy driving, but who let that person drive? Dan Campbell. So I think
he lets his coordinators drive.
Yeah, like it's that's the whole point of it. It's like most of the blame should go on the play caller, but who put that play caller in that position? Dan Campbell. Who gave him that truck? Who wanted that truck? That's the philosophy. So I think blames to go both parts, but majority for the coordinator.
Yeah. And two, like, and this is where I kind of veer off maybe from some others because I'm more realistic and I listen to everything that these guys say and guys like Doc who are in that building. And I'm not saying you guys, so I'm just saying in general, like to people who have these conversations. Dan has a piece in this offense. He has for the last 3 years. If someone wants to ignore it and say it's all Ben, so be it. That's wrong. Like you're just dead wrong. Dan walks into the building on Monday morning with the game plan offensively he wants, some plays he wants, some schemes he wants, the defenses they're going up against, and he sits down with his OC and goes over it, and then Ben takes control. And Ben figures out his play calls off that, and Ben adds in his plays. There's Dan plays in there. There's Dan. This is what Dan wants. This is what Dan's an offensive mind in that building. It starts with him, and that's where Jeff, I'm like, there's a reason why in those post-game press conferences, Dan goes on me because Dan has control whether they run the ball more, if they pass it on 3rd and 1, on trick plays. That's why Dan steps up and said, that's on me. And even if Ben makes the mistake, that's on me to Dan. Like, that's what he does. So, like, that's where I look at both of them. And and you guys know this because we've had a conversation. I've looked at Dan as an offensive mind in that building with Ben. Obviously not like 50-50, but it starts with Dan. Like, again, people like say, Booner, you're wrong. Like that first year when Ben took over, I think Dan started play calling and gradually let Ben in and said, hey, like, let's work you into this and let Ben and gave him the full reins. And I didn't think Dan was bad. Like Jared Goff still had the elite stat line with Dan out there helping out, kind of transitioning to Ben. So, like, to me, I think Dan is a big part of this offense. That's why I don't think that Ben leaving is huge. Like one of the best minds in the game right now. But I think Dan is if you really want to break it down, like Dan's up there in the NFL as well, offensive minded. And people just don't think about it because you have the Ben Johnson. And I think like this offense still is going to run through Dan Campbell. John Morton's going to call the plays, but it's going to be Dan Campbell's game plan. It's going to be at the beginning of the week. He's going to show up with his game plan. And that's where, yes, Dan deserves some of the blame. He 100% does. But to my point with John Morton is John's a vet. He's been in this league. He will understand more in situations with Ben where typically Dan after the game realizes, hey, we shouldn't have gone away from the run. In those moments, Jeff, Ben doesn't know better. He's younger. Dan should have been the one to step up and did it, and he didn't. John Morton's going to step up in those games in the situations Klotz is talking about, running the ball more, and John Morton's going to be like, hey, we don't need to go crazy. Situational football, boys, offensively. And I think that's the change where you see the experience kick in. That I hope that understood my point at all. Like I hope that.
I understand your point. I'm talking to like John Macron, like or any of the fans that I've seen say the same shit.
Yeah, Dan deserves blame. If you're gonna say Dan helped this offense, he deserves blame too, 100%.
Yeah, but it's really my point. Isn't like I didn't want to get it. I was just trying to make a simple point of like, hey guys, because you guys brought up the Ben Johnson where he went wrong and not running the ball in some games enough, putting the ball in Goff's hands too much, trick plays. Like my point was like I'll hear people say that but then on the other side of their mouth say, well, he's behind this offense. Like he gives all the credit. So I want to just make a quick point. I mean, we got into a little conversation, which is fine. I love it. But I was just trying to throw in there like, okay, guys like the Doc, which we'll talk to him next week. It's like, which one is it? Because if you're like me, and I think it's the canvas example where Dan has there's the canvas. He tells Ben what to paint. He might add a stroke or two. Then it really is mostly on Ben, which I agree. Like, I think most of it should be on Ben. But like, I better hear those people out there that say Ben's really just he's an AI bot programmed by Dan Campbell. Then Dan.
No, I would go. It's like 75-25 because Ben's out there making the calls.
Yeah,
he's the one that he probably has majority of the plays and he's drawing up at the end of the day.
That's all my point was. I mean, we don't even really disagree. That I'm just talking to like those people, just venting. You know what I mean?
I do hate the people who don't. Yeah, I agree. I just hate the people, and it's opposite for you, Jeff, because you hate the people that don't give Ben enough credit. I hate the people that don't give Dan enough credit, and I think me and you can meet in the middle on that. I just there are people who are like, it's all Ben Johnson. Dan Campbell's a very, very smart offensive mind. Very smart.
The only risk with a guy like John Morton is like we all are hope. Like I know Klotzy's coming around more. I know me and Booner. You're still skeptical. I get
That's
that.
crazy. He's got to wait till like week 13.
Me and Booner are more confident. Like we like the hire, but for a guy like Dan, I'll just say it is he is an offensive mind, but a guy that, and I love this by the way, when any boss empowers their employees, like I love that, right? I love that Dan empowers his coordinators, but you guys understand with that's risk. Like when you empower guys, they could sink the fucking ship. I mean, that's what happens. Like, coaches that call plays like Ben in Chicago, the offense will never get touched. It's him calling plays. But I won't use Ben because people don't like that example. Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. It's a little risky when you're a CEO type, and it could go very well this year. I expect it to, but that's just the risk, with that type of stuff.
I'm interested if a John Morton, David Shaw, those types of guys, again, veteran, very, very vet head coaches who've been in the game a long time.
Yeah.
Look at Dan in these situations. You know how like last year, like with these trick plays, like there are some where we're all like, Ed probably didn't need it, but when it works, we're like, yes. When it doesn't, we're like, what are you doing? In those moments, I wonder if like Ben's not going to be like, Dan, no, like we're not doing it, Dan. Ben's going to be like, okay, yep, I got to play for it. You know what I mean? I can never see if Dan's like, hey, we're going for it here, or hey, let's get this trick play.
Like I
don't ever see Ben being like, no, Dan, we shouldn't do it. I see John Morton and David Shaw being like, hey, coach, like, what do we think about this? Like, I don't know if this is the right situation. We should just. I just keep going back to the divisional round, the 3rd and 1. Like, hey, coach, let's just run the ball. Let's run it. We have 4th down to live on. Like that's how I look at these hires being made. I hope that makes sense because I just think it's just more so like these guys feel more comfortable pushing back on Dan on some of those. And then to your point, Jeff, if Dan had a handle on that offense, you should also blame him for some of the mistakes that were made throughout the year.
Hey, let me ask you guys. I'll ask the question. Speaking of the coaches, who do you think's the next one to leave? The next one to leave for a promotion, like out of the coordinators or out of the assistants? Because Scottie Montgomery just got interviewed today to be an OC for the Cowboys. Didn't get the job, but he was interviewed, and I think it's his first interview, if I'm not mistaken, for an offensive coordinator job, outside the Lions. But if you had to pick an assistant, it could be David Shaw, it could be John Morton, any of these guys. Who do you think leaves first?
Fired.
Calvin Shepard. Who would be the first one to leave for a promotion? By the way, not head coach. Doesn't have to be a promotion. Like it could be Shaw to be OC somewhere or whatever.
I'd say Mark Brunell.
Mark Brunell?
I think, he doesn't have the coaching experience as far as being in the league coaching, but he has so much experience being a good quarterback, and especially like being a left-hand quarterback, he saw the game in a different way, so it can teach quarterbacks different things. And I just think he'd be good for the modern-day NFL because even back in his day, like he wasn't Michael Vick out there, but he was a mobile quarterback and he had a cannon. So I think you could put him with any type of quarterback and he can coach them up. I think he'd be a good OC for a good like an Aaron Glenn. Like, I know he didn't take Mark Brunell, but Mark Brunell would have been a perfect offensive coordinator, maybe given after this year for Aaron Glenn type of situation. So I think a defensive mind like Mark Brunell would be good for a defensive minded head coach.
I actually don't hate that. If I had to do a rankings 1, 2, 3, I think Mark might be one. He was supposed to get the Jets OC job. You guys remember when those reports came out? It was saying it was Mark Brunell who was going to. I wonder how he feels about that now, knowing that Tanner he probably worked with.
I think if I don't know who's Rabel's OC this year.
Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
So if that doesn't work for whatever reason,
Mark Brunell.
Mark Brunell, I think would be a great option for that.
I want to say Hank Fraley as well. Because I keep going back and falling back, and the Seahawks position that he got hired for, or not hired for, interviewed for, and they brought him back for a second interview. Like typically, I feel like we've seen a lot of like if you get a second interview, that means like, hey, you're gonna have a pretty good chance, and you're probably a finalist, one or two, like probably one of the final two left. And if Hank was the final three left in that position, I would think after this year, if this offense, especially with Ben leaving, if this offense and this run game is at a different level, the offensive line is elite. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to have another big year. David Montgomery. I don't see a world next year where Hank Fraley doesn't get more OC interviews and doesn't look at actually taking one. Because he is getting to a point in his career where it's like, hey, it's time to take that next step. And he almost got Ben, the one in Chicago with Ben. He could have got that, I bet you, if he wanted to. And then he had the Seattle one. So I think he ends up getting one.
I think a guy that gets an the first OC job, and I know it's easy. He interviewed today, but it's Scottie Montgomery. He's called plays before. And I'm surprised. Like with this running back room, Jahmyr Gibbs goes out there. Your guy Klotz has an all-pro year, balls out again, and Dave Montgomery has a good year. Like that dude's gone. He's going to be an OC somewhere. Like I think it has to happen this season. Now, could Hank leave or Mark Brunell? Yeah, but I think it's someone who's the closest. Like Scottie interviewed today. I mean, the Saints are the only job I think that doesn't have an OC. Maybe the Raiders. I'm trying to think of other OC jobs. I don't know if he'll interview for any more. I don't know what's out there. But within a year, man, he'll be gone. There'll be an OC somewhere. He's called plays in college. You coach. You were part of this Lions offense. Like teams, it's copycat league. They're top 5 this year. He's gone. They're taking him. You know what I mean? So I think but the 3 we named are probably the top 3. No matter how you rank them. I mean, those guys are all probably going to be gone. All on offense. I didn't hear any Calvin Shepard's.
Well, the Kelvin one is, and the reason that if he was still the linebackers coach, I think like that him to get an upgrade and take a new job is.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And I made the statement a couple of days ago. I do think Kelvin, with the weapons he's about to get out defensively, and hopefully they reload the correct way in the draft and free agency, and guys are healthy, I think he's in a better position than AG was to have success defensively. So, like, I do think in the next 2 or 3 years, if this defense ends up being top 10 as they should be, and they win a Super Bowl, next year he might get an interview or two. He might not get a job, but I think within the next 2 or 3 years is when you see Kelvin end up taking a head coaching job. If there's that success, which I do think they're going to have defensively with everyone back healthy. So, like, I would love to say Kelvin, but, you know.
He's got some time to put in for.
2 or 3 years. AG, what, 4 years? Ben, 3 years as assistant. I mean, Ben could have left after 2. So I think Kelvin, like, minimum, I think that second year he's going to really have an opportunity.
I wanted to bring this up too. Out of all the Lions players going into the season, we talked about guys that are potentially leaving and guys that next year are kind of on the hot seat. But in your mind, if I asked you in chat, I want to hear the chat's opinion on this. Give me the player to you that has the most to prove going into next season. A player that has and it's not the obvious one like Jared Goff. Like, dude, I get it. He shit the bed, but I'm talking about besides kind of the main guys. You know, some of the top players. Who has the most to prove? You can go with anyone besides those top guys.
I'm interested.
You all go for it. You want me to start, fellas?
Well, we told you who ours is, so I'm interested. You're just surprised to me.
I got one, and I think this one is a player that maybe when you think about his position is kind of boring, but what he could do for the future of this team, especially where he was picked, is ginormous, and that's Christian Mahogany. When I look at Christian Mahogany next year, Kevin Zeitler could come back, could possibly leave. Don't know what's going on with Kevin Zeitler, but when you look at Graham Glasgow, like next year, especially in training camp, like I expect Christian Mahogany, a 6th-round pick, to go over and take that position from Graham Glasgow. Kevin Zeitler returns. Not only take it over, I expect him to be like a top 15 guard in the NFL based on how he looked last year. And I know last year he was playing right next to Penei Sewell, But Taylor Decker, most likely not retiring. Frank Ragnow, I would imagine, would not retire because I think this is the last year of his contract. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's coming up on his contract. So he's going to be in a position to succeed. And when you look at it, he was supposed to be a third-round pick coming out of Boston College, had some off-the-field issues, which the Detroit Lions had to deal with. Like, he was not at training camp the first part of the season. He did not show up, so he missed a significant amount of football in his rookie season. And then you watched him play and you're like, holy shit, this guy looks like he's been playing the full season. Like, what you saw out of him and what he can contribute for being a 6th-round pick, how cheap he is contract-wise. And you have running backs like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. You have a quarterback with like Jared Goff throwing to the weapons that he has. I think he's a vital, vital part of what Johnny Morton, David Shaw, and this offensive game plan is going to be built around because he's very athletic, but he's also very strong and he keeps good leverage. So Christian Mahogany, I do not see him failing. I see him succeeding. I think I'm going to be proven right on that. Absolutely. I know you boys probably have the same mindset on there, but when I look at this offense, somebody that I think needs to take a step up, and it's not like, oh, if he doesn't, he's absolutely trash. Like, no, this guy was a 6th-round pick, so he doesn't need to be an instant Pro Bowler, but he needs to go out there and show more spurts of what he did this year. So I think for me, boys, it's Christian Mahogany.
Don't hate that one. I'll say this.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I wasn't sure if I was going or you were going, so you take it away.
Yeah, I just want to. I'll get mine out of the way here.
Yep.
The most to prove, and I think there's one player on this Lions team next year that has the most to prove. The position that he is in this past season as a rookie, you get a little bit of a leeway as a rookie. Any position, you get a leeway. At the position he's at, you get maybe a little bit more of a gap. But after year one, there is no more, hey, he's a rookie. It's time to step up and play. And I think that's in this position group when you really find out if a guy's a dude or not. The most to prove next season, boys, I think it should be only one person. I think it's Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold going into 2025. I think it's like, I'm not going to say make or break because his career is going to be just fine in the NFL. But being a 1st-round draft pick, being someone in Detroit that everyone expects to be a corner one on this football team moving forward, you can't go out there next year and have the same year you had. You have to make a big step forward if you're Terrion Arnold. Like, this is a huge offseason for him. He has had the experience now. There's no more excuses. If I'm Terrion Arnold, I have to go out there and prove everything to this team, to the fans, to the coaches, to the NFL, and say, hey, I belong here and I'm supposed to be a star in this league. That's why Brad Holmes, boys, traded up to 21 to get Terrion Arnold. Because he's supposed to be an elite corner in the NFL. So for me, all the penalties, everything that went bad this year for Terrion, we all gave him like a C- of a grade. You need to go next year and have a B+ or more. He has the most to prove by a mile over anyone else, in my opinion, on this defense. I mean, even offense, a lot of those guys have done a lot, but I just think he has, you have to look at it, and it's a make or break season for him to be a star in the NFL come year 2 for him.
If I'm being real, I'm going to concede to Terrion Arnold. I think he has the most to prove. I think that's a great one, to be honest. I think he has the most to prove. Another one I'll mention, and a guy that I thought took a jump this year. I did. And he had a lot on his hands given the injuries. But I'm going to go with Jack Campbell. Because, in a side note, can we get a pick? I mean, seriously. I just throw that out there. Can we get an interception? This is someone
Who are you talking about? Terrion, right? The corner?
Wait, what'd you say?
You're talking about Terrion, the corner?
Oh, him too. Yeah.
Oh,
and then Jack. Can they both get one? It'd be awesome.
I'd rather Terrion to get one than I don't really care about Jack getting one.
I mean, he's more, but this guy this year has shown more in the passing game. Obviously, that was a big question mark on him. But for me with Jack, I think this year we had the back and forth about who will be better. You know, we argued with Klotzy. We went to war with Klotzy. He was right. It was Anzo. This year, I'm done with that. There's not even a question. It's Jack Campbell. And if he's not, he's a bust. I'm serious. That's where I'm at. He's got to be the best linebacker on your team this year. It's year 3. Enough of the hit, continuing to grow. This year, he's got to be your best linebacker. I mean, it's 3 years in the system. He's played in a ton of games. He's played in big games. So there's not really any excuses for Jack Campbell at this point. So I think most to prove. I think Terrion Arnold's a great one in terms of he's another one. Like, if you can't get it together, man, what's going on? But to me, Jack Campbell has to take that step. To me, like that Pro Bowl step. Like, I think Pro Bowl should be the expectation. You take a guy in the first round, a linebacker, and it was already kind of a questionable pick at first for a lot of people. Like, to prove Brad right, this dude has to be a Pro Bowl. He has to be a Pro Bowl level player this year. And if he's not, then I'm approaching the bust word. Not that he's a bad player.
Whoa.
Yeah, no.
He just led your team in tackles.
But when I say, I think that's what people get triggered with. When I say bust, it doesn't mean he's a bad player. But 18th overall, no. If he's not your best linebacker, Booner,
bust means he's had a bad career. His career is dead.
No,
I think you would be disappointed. Disappointing.
Okay, we're playing the word game.
Bust is like a word where it's like you were never good.
Will he be worth the 18th overall pick?
No, it would be a disappointment at 18. Yeah.
What is a disappointment at a draft pick?
Nah, not a bust. A bust is like you did not work out.
I think, I'm with.
That's a big word.
I think of like John Ross.
Yeah,
I think of
people
like
get
John.
triggered.
There's levels of like draft.
No, people get triggered by the word bust.
I agree.
Jeff.
There's levels, and bust is like the bottom of like the. There's whiff,
yeah.
and then there's whiff, like a pick that you whiff
We're
on.
arguing
like
semantics.
No, dude. But Jeff, there are certain words in the sports world that people are like, "What?" Bust is one of those words where it's like, if you call a guy a bust, that's Klotz. You know what I'm saying? Right?
I know.
I'm not crazy
because
for this.
That's when you're putting like a guy like Brandon Whedon and now Jack Campbell in the same category, and that's where it's like there's got to be like Jack Campbell is still a good football player.
Yeah, Jack Campbell, if he doesn't get a Pro Bowl this year, he's gonna have a couple Pro Bowls in his career. Like, and even if it doesn't come this year, like it's gonna happen. He's not like a bust is like he was a bust. He's never gonna work out. No. He was the worst pick of all time. He has no future. Like Jack's gonna be on your team for the next 8 years, and he at some point, whether it's this year or not, you can't call him a bust after this year. But he's gonna be on a Pro Bowl team at some point. So like, no, if you're a bust, you're never gonna be like, hey, he still could do it every year. I mean, he just let your team attack.
I know we're going to spend 30 minutes on defining the word.
You got to get that bust word. That's one of those words, dude.
How about this? It's all about how you say it in today's society.
Yes.
How about this? He wasn't worth the 18th pick.
Disappointing at that point.
See how I changed the tone? I'll just go with that. He wasn't worth the 18th overall pick. Like, to me, that was the wrong pick then at that point. If he doesn't
another step, didn't live up to the hype of the 18th overall pick. I think that's like
he wasn't worth the 18th pick. That is the bottom line. I can't give you that one. I won't say bust, but I'll say he wasn't worth the 18th overall pick.
All right, yeah.
Can we break bread on that? So that's
fine. I disagree, but like that's fine. I like that.
What, Booner? If you're a GM and you draft a linebacker at 18 and he's not your best,
now you got it. Boone, I'm kidding. Now you're losing.
I'm kidding. The only thing I'm saying is I do think Jack, like whether it happens this year or not, it's one of those positions. Like Brad took him at 18 and put him in a tough position a little bit because like Anzo's there. It's like
that's a great position though.
Yeah, no, but it's like if Anzo keeps playing at this level, and this is the Klotzy's part at the beginning of the year, if Anzo's playing at that level and getting better and better, it helps out for Jack, but he's always going to have it's just being in a great linebacker.
I think if that's Fred Warner or Roquan Smith and Boone, that's a cop out. That's a cop out. We said at the beginning of the year that Anzo might be gone by the end of this year. He might retire. He might retire the year after. Like Alex Anzalone. And I say it all the time. He's probably like a B+ linebacker. Has games where he plays like an all-pro linebacker, but he's not. And you draft Jack Campbell to be the all-pro linebacker. And if he's in that situation where he's the LB2, then he should be, by all measures at this point, again, this is why he's the disappointing part of the pick. He should be in a situation where he's thriving. And especially when Anzo got hurt, you saw a glimpse of what he could be at the LB1 spot. And he wasn't terrible, but he didn't look like an 18th overall pick when Anzo got hurt. So I think with Jack Campbell, you draft him to be an A+ linebacker. That's why you draft him in the first round.
Can I give you guys
right now? He's probably like a B-. I think.
Can I give you guys a little bit of hope?
I want to hear this.
A little bit of hope.
All right.
Jack Campbell this year, 131 total tackles. Alex Anzalone in his 9-year or 8-year NFL career never hit that.
That's
in his second year. And that's where I do think where I get you guys like 18th overall. You have to be good now. You have to be good now. You have to be good now. I think
next year.
even next year, but like even so, there's a trajectory where he's at 140 plus tackles next year. Like to me, I'm like, okay, there we go. But like there were conversations this year, a stretch of football with Jack, where people are like, he has a chance at the Pro Bowl. Like people were like, hey, if he keeps playing at this level, and then maybe he dropped off a little, but the consistency in different parts of his game is where you have to look at it and say he needs to improve. I think he knows that. But to me, it's like there are definitely levels to linebackers. And when you look at a Jack Campbell, who in year 2 already has the career high in tackles over Alex Anzalone. Like Alex Anzalone, he's our guy. He's never had the year.
Has led the league in tackles for 2 straight years.
Listen, I'm just stating a fact.
6 linebacker in the league.
I'm just stating a fact, man. I'm just
stating
a fact. That's all.
Boone. You are stating a fact, but I'll ask you.
I'm showing you guys. He's a young guy still.
Yeah.
But okay, that's
year
fine.
2.
You would agree, though. Can we break bread? You would agree tackling doesn't make you a great player. Like it does not.
No, but I'm just saying, like when you look at the game, like Jackson year 2, and he is 24 years old.
Yeah.
Alex Anzalone's 30 years old in year 9. And like Jack, I know it's not tackles as a thing, but like as a linebacker, like you have to be flying around the field, can't miss tackles. Like there's coverage, there's all these different things. And the biggest thing is like the green dot, like being able to call out things. Like Jack needs to learn that. But I just think like I see a positive in this year for Jack. I know like you got to think too, like boys, like as bad as he might have played in moments where there was coverage or not. Like again, if we're going to use this argument for Terrion and Carlton and some of these guys, look what happened with Jack Campbell. Malcolm Rodriguez down, Derek Barnes down, Alex Anzalone down at times. In front of him, all of his defensive linemen down. He was in front of him, dude. He's out there playing with practice squad guys essentially in the box. So it's like for him to have the year he did with the defense that he was on, I think that's I look at it as a positive. I'm not going to go into next year and be like, man, he's such a disappointment.
He was terrible this year. Like no,
I just think like. Yeah, I just think like going into next year, like the positions he's been in, he's 24 years old. He's so young. I'm not going to say he is a disappointment of a draft pick in year 3 if he doesn't make a Pro Bowl just because of that. Like I think there's very good linebackers in the NFL. Some of these guys don't end up getting good until they're 26, 27 in their prime, and then they finally make a Pro Bowl. Like Klotz, you are big on linebackers. You know that is a fact. There are some guys, but then there are guys who instantly the Fred Warners. He doesn't need to be a Fred Warner, but like if he gets to that level at some point in his career at 27, 28, he's 24, boys.
But he's still not working.
My point is, Boone, when
he can still be though when he's 27, 28.
When you do look at the linebackers drafted in the first round, like I'm going to use Roquan Smith for an example. Roquan Smith was good right away. Jack Campbell, that's why I'm saying when you see that first round linebacker can have pass coverage skills day 1, and then you see those things aren't there yet day 1, year 2, okay, getting better. Like saying that he's disappointing, it's because when you're in that first round pick as a linebacker, you are held to high standards because there's got to be a reason why. And we haven't really truly seen that reason why yet. Hopefully we do in year 3. But in year 3, if you don't see that, like, I mean, J-Mo, year 3, what would you give J-Mo grade this year? Probably an A. So Jack Campbell, he's got to have an A type of season. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to be saying, oh, he sucks if he has a B+. Like, no, if you have a B+ season, dude, like if Jack Campbell takes another step forward, good. Like I want Jack Campbell here. But it's one of those things where people bust J-Mo's balls the whole time and why people still call J-Mo bust, which is mind-boggling. That's why I did say that comment with you earlier, Jeff, because people say J-Mo can't ever live up to a wide receiver 1 because he's a bust. It's like, no, that's not true. He's not a bust. So I'm going to give Jack Campbell that same grace. But he's got to bring the same type of results. I'm
going to, until the man turns like 27, I'm just going to say, like, I'm just hey, listen.
Booner, disappointment of a
I think it's one of those things. Like, do you remember the example, like with Dan Campbell, like his first 2 years after people are like, get rid of the guy.
That's not even.
And then he turns it around. I think with Jack, it's like I think with Jack, you get into year 3, you know what he can be in his trajectory. I'm gonna still like at the time. I would say in the moment, to your point, Jeff. I'll say in the moment, if he doesn't make the Pro Bowl next year and he's just average, he does what he did this year, next year, I would be like, yeah, at the moment, that's a disappointment. But I still think he can get to that Pro Bowl level. I do. And I think it might take year 4, year 5.
But sometimes, Boone, we got to stop having faith and just objectively.
Why can't I have faith?
Like,
before that is the objective statement that
in
we're
the
talking
moment,
about. Is he
in the moment
disappointed with a pick? Yes or no?
In that moment, at that time, next year, if he doesn't improve, then yes. But I will caveat it in that same statement. I will put an asterisk next to it and say he is still only 24 years old.
No, you know what you're doing? You're saving your ass in case he becomes.
No, I'm not.
Just be real.
I'm not.
I'm not.
Hey, this is me like you were with John Morton being like, hey, listen, this is exactly the John Morton argument where you're like, hey, I love the hire, but I see where Klotz is coming from.
No,
I see you're covering your hind end too.
It's really honestly.
I'm doing the same with Jack Campbell.
I love you. You know why I love you? Because you try these little gotcha moments.
That is a very Klotz. Help me here. That was fair.
Hey, this is between you and Jeff right now.
It's not the same.
My heart can't handle this today.
It's not the same. John Morton, there's a lot of questions. So you're saying that John Morton and Jack Campbell are the same.
I'm not. I'm just saying
that's what you're indicating.
It has nothing to do with the players or the coaches. You're just telling me, Booner, you're trying to play both sides of it.
No.
I'm not. I'm just giving an example of what I'm saying.
Let me
Steve, all the lie.
Let me have the phone.
That's Jeff. When you say that stuff, I don't do that to you. I could have said that to you last week with John Morton. Said you're just playing both sides of the Klotz here. That was all I'm doing. I'm saying, hey,
we're doing this like child.
I see what you guys are saying.
We're not. How old are we right now? I mean, what are we doing? Put the camera on me for a second, please.
That was you that tried to say I'm playing both sides.
Jumped out of his fucking head.
Yeah,
because he's trying to say I'm playing both sides.
Oh my God, dude.
I'm doing literally just the same. Listen, I take notes and I learn from my coworkers, man. I love what you guys do. You guys do a great job at your jobs. I think this, but I also see where you're coming from on that side.
I'm so fucking confused. I really am, fellas. I'm so confused. I wish I had something to say back. Let's just move on. I really don't even know what to say back.
Klotz, do you understand what I'm saying here? I'm not that crazy, am I?
Hey, you're just covering your hind end.
But is it the? It's okay. But is that not the same thing? Like he said I was playing both sides.
I'm not gonna lie, boys. I was more so enjoying like looking at the other person's reaction while the other person was talking. That's why I was like, I don't even know what the fuck you just said. I was just watching.
I was saying to Booner, I'm like, dude, you can't say it's disappointing, but he's still young. It's like, no, it's okay to be like, dude, it's disappointing. Like that's the takeaway. It's just disappointing.
I agree. I would say I see where you're coming from there, and then I also think that there's an opportunity for him to still kind of take that next step at some point of his career. So yeah, both things can be true. It's not playing both sides.
I have faith in. You can say that about any player, though. You can say that about Broderick Martin.
Like going into this last year, would you say what J-Mo did for 2 years was disappointing? Right? Just yes or no? Yes.
But J-Mo.
No. Jeff, yes or no?
Year.
But Jeff, just hear me out. Yes or no? With J-Mo, the first two were disappointing, right? But at the same time, would you say there's still opportunities for J-Mo to take that next step in his career?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Of course, you can say that.
Of course, but that's my point.
But you're
like, why can't I? That is not playing both sides.
It sounded like you were willing to just like, it's okay to just let go. You know what I mean? Like, I know Jackson. I love him. Like, I do. But if he doesn't show up,
I genuinely think you're just completely not understanding what I'm saying and wrong.
No,
you're saying yes, Jack needs to step up this year.
All right,
disappointment, and then you're also saying I'm wrong, which means you just think that Jack's done after that.
You're wrong. Okay.
Then what are you talking about? Let go.
It was a joke. Laugh once in a while. I mean, literally, it's a joke. Like let go, meaning like it's okay. You know what I mean? You're too serious right now. You're tense. Chill out. All right, dude. I'm telling you to let go.
Hey, you got serious. I was ready to go at it.
It was a joke. I'm saying like let go of your guy. Like Jack, it's okay to be like, you know what? It's disappointing. It was a joke. But anyway, we'll move on.
Fair enough. Hey, watch yourself, Jeff Iafrate.
But by the way, the John Morton thing, that didn't make sense. I hope you know that. Like,
let's move on. Let's move on. By the way,
no, John Morton, like
you said, you had your statement, and then you also said, I do understand where Klotz is coming from.
No,
it's playing both sides.
But
it's the same thing.
It's not, Booner, because John Morton, it's actually fair to have questions about John Morton. Like, we don't know. We don't have any evidence to suggest that he'll be a good coordinator. Jack Campbell's a first-round pick. He has to be good. That's literally what it has to be. Everyone thinks he's going to be good. John Morton, I can't argue.
I would love to move on because you obviously do not see the light. I would like it. Makes
I really do. Honestly,
what you're saying genuinely, like, and I love you, does not make sense. But it's
you can't see. You keep trying to use what I say.
You played the two. You played the two sides with John Morton. You said, I love the hire. I
like it.
And then you're like, but I do understand.
You said I would listen to Lukas because it's fair. Like, no one has evidence that it's going to work out. We have Jack Campbell. We have 2 years of evidence.
Listen, Jeff, hear me out. With John Morton, you're like, I like the John Morton hire, but I see where Klotz is coming from on the other side. I agree with him. That's both sides. We just
talked.
All right, again. Let me keep going.
Both sides it differs from different topics. You agreed on the phone. So why are we switching up on the show now?
Is this what it feels like when I cut people off? Because I hate it.
It is, Boone.
I'm sorry that I apologize for every time I'll cut you guys off.
We just talked the other day. We're like, yeah, there are topics where you technically, I get you can see both sides. The more switched up right on the show.
I think Jack Campbell thinks the same thing to where you can see both sides to it.
I agree.
Okay, exactly. But the reason that it triggered me is because you called me out and said you're playing both sides. We had the conversation on the phone.
I literally did not say that.
No, we had the conversation on the phone, and then go, Booner's, so you're just going to make it to where you're covering yourself on either whatever happens.
Booner, rewind the tape. I never said you were playing
You said, but basically, when you say you're covering your ass for whatever happens, that's playing both sides. You said that. I did it. You did. You tried to call me out when we had the conversation about the John Morton thing, and you go, there are some times where you can do that. This was one of those times where I could say, hey, Jack can be a disappointment this year, but also at the same time, he still is able to take a step in his career after that. Then you go on to proceed and say, Booner, you're just covering your ass on both sides. That's basically saying, Booner, you're playing both sides.
You
know it. You're shook right. You know it. I'm not trying to argue. You know it.
Oh, no. Don't say that now. Don't say that now, Booner.
You can't
say I'm not trying to argue now. That doesn't work.
I mean, hey, I got to feel a little bit of what it's like getting cut off. I won't do that to you boys no more. I apologize firsthand.
But here's the thing. Okay, we can break bread. I'm messing. We're trying to have some banter there. Obviously, you got offended, so we'll move on.
Because when I call you out and say you're playing both sides, you flip a switch.
Why are we, dude? Can we move on? I was kidding. Chill out. Chill the fuck out.
I need a. What are those asterisks?
This dude is just on one today. All right. Did you have coffee? Did you have caffeine or something?
Water, dude. I think I have a heart issue right now too, and you're getting me stressed out. I don't need this.
I'm gonna have gray hair, Steve. I'm trying to. I'm done now. Let's just do a show.
Gray flow would be iconic. I will say that.
What are those? What are the gray hair guys called? What do they call them? Like when you get older and you have gray hair.
Like silver fox.
Silver fox. Yeah. Who's the first one on the show to become a silver fox?
I feel like I'd go bald before I went gray.
Dude, I'm like genuinely, boys. I'm like
bald,
nervous to go
brother,
bald. I think I would look so bad bald. Was your grandpa bald?
No, my grandpa
on your grandpa on your mom's side. I think
both sides got a head of hair.
You're good then. I think it's your grandpa, your mom's dad is. I think that's what I've heard.
We can get into Detroit Lions awards. Can we just get into that? I want to get far away from whatever.
I think I dunked on Jeff.
Literally, you're getting boonered right now. You're getting boonered.
Let's just move far away from whatever just happened. Let's get into awards, please.
I think Jeff is shook. Jeff, it's not as big of. I'm sorry, dude. It's not that big.
You're not doing that to me. You're not going to say we're killed. It's chill now. We're good. All right, you got upset, Booner. We just all saw it. You freaked out.
I genuinely am not upset. I'm good.
Oh, then we're good. Yeah, whatever just happened. I don't know what just happened.
No, boys. I genuinely think like everything's fine. Like I'd be trying to calm things down.
I'm cool. I'm ready to move on. Let's get to awards.
Yeah, let's do some awards.
All right, let's do that.
Yep, you're a little up right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I was.
Hey, don't get. Hey, I'm not trying to. I'm just saying, Boone's good. I can tell when Boone's frustrated. Boone's not frustrated right now.
No, he's not. I'm confused as hell. Which is what happened.
We move on.
Hey, Klotz, I think I just ran. I ran the diamond in one on Jeff and just dominated him. He's shook. He doesn't. He's never seen it before. He's never seen it. He's like the diamond in one. This is new. Oh my gosh.
Are we sure we got the right one on cocaine? Like, is the chat like seriously? I mean, I think we got it wrong the entire time. I think this dude is on cocaine. To be honest with you,
Booner's off his meds today.
Told you, I'm having some heart issues, dude. I swear, dude. I was getting like shock waves in my body today. It was the weirdest thing.
Like, were you saying you just like twitch up?
Dude, I don't know, dude. It's just like I turn a certain way or do something. It's like a shockwave through my upper body. And it's like, this is weird. There's no like sharp pain or anything. It's like a shockwave. It's weird. I haven't had it on the show, dude. I was having it while I was working today, every like twice an hour, and then I haven't had it on the show. Maybe I just needed to get my blood flowing.
A lot of caffeine in your recently?
I just had 1 cup of coffee today.
No, but I'm saying recently. Been drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah, dude. I have coffee at night. Sometimes I'll have like a Celsius.
Maybe drink some tea this weekend.
Ooh, I had a Celsius for the first time in like a month or two yesterday.
Oh, yeah, maybe drink like some tea or something this weekend.
Dude, it was crazy. It felt like it was like I could feel my heartbeat, and when it beat, like it was like a shot, like it was like a shock in my body. It was like I was getting hit with one of those EADs or whatever.
EADs.
It was crazy, dude.
All right, let's do this. I got awards. I'm going to read them off. You tell me who won it on the Detroit Lions. We got MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Assistant Coach of the Year, Most Improved, in the Grit Award, the grittiest. All right, so we'll start with MVP. Who's the MVP of the Detroit Lions this year?
I think it has to be one player. I mean, it's the man who was nominated for the award in the NFL, right? Jared Goff. He's a top 5 finalist for the MVP award in the NFL. I think there's a difference between like MVP, Offensive Player of the, or Offensive Player of the Year for the team.
I think we could agree Goff probably.
I would have to go.
I'm trying to think. I mean, besides Goff, if I'm being real, I'd go
align with Gibbs.
Well, he's
Give me Gibbs, especially when David Montgomery went down. What'd they do? They handed the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs, and what'd he do? Looked like the second best running back in the NFL. So Goff, great, cute. Gibbs is the best player on that football team on the offense side of the ball, except maybe Penei Sewell. Maybe I'll give Penei his grace.
The next one, Offensive Player of the Year.
I mean, that's why I wrote down Jahmyr Gibbs for that. I wanted to give Gibbs credit at some point. You could argue. I don't know. I won't say the name.
Sweep the awards, Klotzy. What is he? What do we
give me Gibbs. What did I just say? The best offensive player on that football team, outside of maybe Penei Sewell, Offensive Player of the Year. Penei Sewell. I'll give Penei his due.
I would go with Gibbs on that one too. I'm with you, Boone. I think Gibbs wins Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, if you want to go Penei, go ahead. Show some love to the big fella. No problem with that.
There was a point throughout the season where I was advocating for Penei to win Offensive Player of the Year in the entire NFL. Didn't even get a finalist.
I enjoyed that. An award. He'd win that.
100%, dude. I think it's crazy that there's not. Like you need. Oh, sorry.
No, go on. No, I mean,
I don't know why it's.
Apologize too for.
I don't know why I said sorry so fast.
No, go on. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I just think again. I was just gonna reiterate how crazy it is. Like, give the big fellas some love, man. Like, geez, it might not be Penei every year, but like, man, like Lane Johnson deserves love. Creed Humphrey deserves love. Frank Penei, like there's some good offensive linemen in the NFL. Oh, what's his name? Tristan Wirfs.
Oh yeah,
Tristan Wirfs, dude. He's a great offensive lineman. Like, I don't want the same guy to get it every year, but get an Offensive Lineman of the Year award and let some of these guys get some love, dude. There are so many good offensive linemen in the NFL.
I think J-Rod sent this earlier. I didn't get to it. So that's my bad, J-Rod. Appreciate you. Member for 8 months. My milestone. Love you, fellas. Move on.
Yo, J-Rod.
J-Rod, appreciate you, man. Thank you. Let's get the Defensive Player of the Year, but excluding Hutchinson. I mean, no Hutch. Because that's just the obvious one, I feel like. And he was hurt for a lot of the year. So we got to go somewhere. Besides Hutch, who's Defensive Player of the Year?
Kirby Joseph.
Yeah, it should be a clean sweep.
Yeah, I think the picks, and I think Kirby, like, I don't know why he wasn't a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. When you lead the NFL in interceptions, you should be on that list. Just he's a playmaker, and I know there are those people who argue, well, he only did it in certain games, in the red zone, just weird at the end of game situations. But like, I just think no matter what, like end of game situations, to me, you can argue, hey, when you're up a possession or two and you get like 2 possessions, game's over, they're gonna throw. I still think those are big moments because like that team can score, go get another stop, or go get an onside kick and try and go win the game. Like that is crunch time moments, no pun intended. And Kirby every single time steps up and makes those plays. I think Kirby, maybe you could argue throughout the year more consistent. But when he was playing at that high level, dude, you do not want to throw to Kirby Joseph. And I think quarterbacks consistently knew that. Even if you didn't see Kirby making a play, the reason he wasn't making a play is because quarterbacks going into the game were avoiding Kirby Joseph.
Yeah,
Boys?
I mean, I think Kirby Joseph, that would be the one. I mean, besides him, I'm trying to think of like stuff. I mean, Carlton was really good. Brian Branch, obviously, had a drop off at the end, but it's probably Brian Branch. But I would go with Kirby on that one. For the next award, Assistant Coach of the Year.
I'll let you guys go first.
Not Coordinator of the Year. You could just go Assistant Coach of the Year.
I'll give this award.
It has to be Assistant Coach?
Yeah. No, I mean, not Dan Campbell. Anyone but Dan, essentially.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, coordinators like count as assistant coaches?
Yeah, anybody.
Oh, then easy. Aaron Glenn for me. All the injuries on defense. I know in the playoffs it sucked, but that they easily could have been a 12-5 football team, but they were 15-2 in large part because Aaron Glenn was able to glue together that defense through injuries that rattled through the whole season to multiple players. I know obviously the defense didn't win them a Super Bowl. I'm not saying that, but I think at what you had to cook with for Aaron Glenn and what he was able to produce, I think he's got to be Assistant of the Year.
Yeah, I had Aaron Glenn written down as well. That was my pick. I don't want to go off and just pick someone else because I think AG, like if you actually did an award for assistant coach, I think AG would win it. All respect to him, dude. Those injuries were crazy. 18 guys on IR defensively. Like that is just unheard of. Like I don't think a team's ever dealt with that. And the fact that even when those guys were going down up to a certain point, like after the Hutch injury, you still had all these guys on IR. I mean, there was a 6-week stretch. I think it was 6 games or 4 games where he didn't give up a touchdown defensively. So what's so funny? What do we have going on here?
Have your shine. This is what we were laughing at right here.
No,
what? Was Jeff laughing?
I think, you know what? I really wish they could both win the award, to be honest.
You're just going to give it to Ben.
I mean, I think it sounds like you were discrediting the other person, but I really don't want to do that. I just want to give credit to literally historical offense. So I would say Ben, but I can't really argue with you guys, man. They both are great. So, and they both really would be, if there was an award, they'd both be running for it. I mean, they'd both be finalists. So,
well, they both are. There is an award in the NFL. They both are finalists.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't hate you. I got nothing. I
think AG genuinely might win the award.
What?
I think AG has like a good chance to actually win the award.
He might. Yeah, they both deserve it. They do. I would lean bet. But hey, let's move on here. All right. Most improved.
Who did I write down? Oh, I didn't go Jack. You could have gone Jack. You know what? I said, let me go away from the guys Jack Campbell that I've been on all year long. No Diddy. I'll let you guys go first. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, to me, this one's easy. I mean, I'm going Jameson Williams.
Oh, dang it! I was hoping you guys. I don't know, dude. I was just hoping that you guys wouldn't take mine.
Yeah, I would go Jameson Williams. I mean, he turned into a legitimate number 2 wide receiver. He kind of entered that Devonta Smith class. And Steve
Vildor that's a funny comment. Vildor.
Yeah, Terrion Arnold. No, it's not. It's
Imagine
he's
Stephen Gilmore.
Yeah, Stephen Gilmore. No, it's JMO. He's after the crap this year, like the distractions, all that other stuff, man, he still had a great year and turned into a legit weapon. So give me JMO.
Yeah, Jameson Williams. I don't need it. He was what? How many yards did he have last year?
You could go, honestly, you could go Jameer here too. I mean,
no.
You could.
Dude, you
could make that argument. Actually, you really could. He took a big step.
What?
Look at Weezy.
We're acting like this wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs the whole time.
Oh
no, he still improved though. He still took a jump.
Obviously, but when
I like this wasn't JMO the whole time. Like we knew what JMO was going to be.
It wasn't.
We saw him at Alabama
a lot though this year.
We saw him at Alabama though.
Jahmyr Gibbs year 1. That man is a star.
But he didn't put the stats up that he did.
Yeah, and you know what? I already knew he was going to be this. In some ways, I was somewhat disappointed in Jahmyr. I said offensive player of the year.
Stop it.
I saw flashes from J-Mo first 2 years where you were like, this kid's going to be good.
I will say
run.
I will say about J-Mo, he has gotten better as a wide receiver. I feel like he's more complete. He's getting way better, man.
I've been saying it at Bama, dude. When he was at his peak at Bama, dude, he looked so good. And it was
at Bama, he just looked like he just was the best athlete on the field.
Yeah, it's fair. He was just outrunning everyone. I posted a play today, and it was just him just out front. He did make an insane catch in the play I posted today. Shout out. I think he liked the tweet, too.
It makes me think, John said he's working with Seth Ryan. I think Seth Ryan will get the wide receiver. Apparently, dude, he's doing a good job with the wide receivers. If he's helping J-Mo, J-Mo loves him. Like, his route running is way better. Like, J-Mo's only yeah, we'd all agree. Jameson Williams. What about the Grit Award?
Can I go first?
This one's easy. Yeah, go ahead. Take it away.
Can I go first? I don't know who you guys are going to pick. I don't know if it's easy, but give me a Meek Robertson.
Oh.
Give me a Meek Robertson. I don't know who you guys were going to pick. I guess it wasn't that easy, Jeff. But
no, I got a good one.
I think the Grit Award, dude, someone who all year he came in and instantly when Meek Robertson came in last year, he was like, I'm ready to compete. Like he had that mentality. He had that mindset. And it showed through the year. Like he took that nickel spot, ran with it. And then when Carlton goes down, he stepped up, made big plays. Like I think Meek all year long was elite at what he did. And the Grit Award to me isn't stats. It's not any. It's like, hey, who's playing hard? A guy that you might not always look at and say, hey, he's the best player on the team, but he's out there competing. That's how I look at it. So I think Meek I think Meek should win it across the board. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say, but I think Meek should be the one.
Me and Klotz, I'm curious what Klotz is at because
Klotz.
Well,
let's go. I want to hear Klotz first. I want to hear Klotz because you just said that, so he could easily go off.
No, I'm taking it. Let me go. The Grit Award to me should be Alex Anzalone. I mean, the dude played with a cast on his forearm and was the best linebacker on your team. And we talked about how big the impact was, right? They needed Anzo. He's playing with one arm out there. To me, that's grit. All right, he came back. Big time. He was incredible for the Lions, helped the defense out. I think he came back in that Minnesota game. They played their best defensive performance. So when it comes to grit, dealing with what he had to deal with, I think he showed the stitches when he played. Brutal. To me, that's grit. So give me Alex Anzalone.
Love the enthusiasm, boys. You're both wrong. And this is why. Both those players were signed by a team through their whole year. There was a guy who was cut, cast away, who said, you weren't good enough. You've been great for us, but you're just not good enough now. And our wide receiver room sucks, but you're just not good enough. Steps in. I said, hey, it's going to be a ball player. Watch out for him. We're going to need him. And what does he do? NFC North game. Catches 2 touchdown passes. The best blocking wide receiver you have on the team. Arguably one of the better wide receiver 3s around the NFL. TP17. Tim Patrick. He embodies it. The man was thrown away from Sean Payton. Came in. When he was brought in, I heard rustles of Josh Reynolds. Bring back Josh Reynolds instead. Why? This is going to be Josh Reynolds' replacement. Yeah, and he was better. Tim Patrick, bring him back next year. He's the Grit Award winner this year. You got to bring him back. TP17.
I mean, it was cute for sure. I just think. I just see, like Steve said, TP for comeback player of the year.
No.
J-Mo.
Are you kidding me?
Well, Tim Patrick was like, wasn't he coming off an injury?
Like 3 straight years.
J-Mo coming off an injury? Coming off suspension? J-Mo.
No.
Tim literally came off.
You're not throwing me off. Tim Patrick is the grit player of the year.
Grit player is fine. If we're talking about comeback player, J-Mo was not hurt last year. J-Mo was not hurt.
Off injuries.
Tim Patrick was coming off major
He's been
injuries.
Thrown away in the gutter.
No.
Called bust. Comeback player.
Yeah, no, I won't say a bad thing about TP. I won't say a bad thing about him.
I stand on my ground.
Klotz is funny, dude. Klotz is hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't want to. Hey, listen, this is a positive segment. We're handing out good awards here. Can we give out most disappointing player of the year?
Oh, I have an instant one.
I have one that wasn't on the team all year. Give me Donovan Peoples-Jones. I look back at that and oh my gosh, dude, I was battling for my life with the whole Donovan Peoples-Jones argument, and people loved him. Oh, you don't need Tim Patrick. You don't need anyone. You have Donovan Peoples-Jones. How'd that work out for you? That man got cut. He didn't make an impact. He couldn't get through preseason.
There was a period where Darius Fountain was the talk of
over
town.
him.
He beat him out.
Yeah,
and
Darius Fountain beat DPJ out. Yeah, that's that. I guess yeah, it was tough, man. That was tough. DPJ, man, that was a tough, disappointing.
I'm gonna go with the man. I was sold false goods. It's that simple. It was a waste of a signing, and I mean that with the most respect, because he's been battling a lot. I understand that, and I would have loved to see him, but it's Emmanuel Mosley. Like, to me, that's the disappointing part. Every week, it's they need some guys at corner. Where's Emmanuel Mosley? Could he be back this week? Could he be back this week? Never returned. Never played a snap, and on defense. So, that to me, that's disappointing. I mean, I don't even know if he has a future like in the NFL, period. I don't know. I mean, maybe he goes and plays somewhere like a practice squad, but like if they couldn't even get him out there at all, to me, I expected him to at least be serviceable. Like remember we talked about it, he could play nickel. Nope. Disappointing.
Oh, dude. That was very disappointing.
Can I do like co-award winners, or do I got to pick one?
You're really turning into Booner, man. God, don't pull a Booner.
Yeah, this was Jeff turning into Booner today, not me. I was on your side. Yeah,
that's on me. I'm getting mixed up. I'm looking at you two as one. You know, I love you both as one.
Shut up. Go on, Klotzy.
You don't got 2-1. I got to know because it's going to factor.
No, we can do honorable mentions. We can do honorable mentions.
Yeah, okay. Do one. Do the most.
Because I've got some honorable mentions.
The most disappointing, without a doubt, Broderick Martin. The third round pick. This isn't a 6th, 5th, 7th. The third round pick, when you have injuries to this defensive line, and they were too scared to start him. And then when they did, wasn't even a starter. Rotational piece. Just gets his teeth kicked in against the Packers, was a liability. Okay, I was told that I would be proven wrong about Broderick Martin. Just wait. Let him develop. He's got Terrell Williams. They're going to turn him into a monster. He's moving ATVs. No, okay. As of now, he is big for nothing. Broderick Martin, without a doubt, biggest disappointment. Honorable mention for the narrative. I have to throw it out there. Marcus Davenport. I know it's not his fault. He got injured. What's happened the last 3 years of his career? He's got injured. So can't even blame him personally, but just the situation of Marcus Davenport.
We shouldn't have done that award. Whoever picked that.
No, that felt good. I need to get that off my chest.
Felt negative. Too negative. I'm not a negative guy. That was too negative.
Honestly,
I brought that award up.
Unless it comes to DPJ.
Yeah, I got another one.
That was on me.
I got an honorable mention. Someone that dealt with injuries, even when he came back, wasn't really quite the same. Iffy Melifonwu. To me, that was disappointing. I thought he was going to be healthy. Injured again. So, to me, that sucks. It sucked. I was excited to see it. That Iffy of last year, that little stretch of football, we didn't even see it. I mean, we didn't get to see the Iffy show. So, to me, it's disappointing.
I just want to throw this out there. Weezy D asked, anybody got a positive spin on Broderick? Listen, hey, I'll tell you what. This is my pitch.
He's young.
Very young player.
Year 7 or 8. He can start.
Hold on. Can't get any worse. Can only go up. The man can't get. There's no more floor. He's at the floor.
You can get released
from here. Okay, that's fair. Okay, yeah, fair. But he can only go up. He can only get better. He's only improving. That's my spiel.
Yeah.
They thought they found their BJ Raji with Broderick Martin. They really did.
Chris Jones.
Oh my gosh. When was Chris Jones picked?
I think first or second. He was first 2 rounds. I think he had I think he was like a Jeffrey Simmons where he's kind of got in trouble. I could be wrong. Amazing 40-yard dash. I mean, really shocked the combine with a 40-yard dash.
Hey, really let it all out.
Anything like that before. That's first-round talent, I'd say. So he probably went first round, boosted his draft stock with that one.
Man, let it all
out. He literally can't get any worse besides getting cut or just not being on the roster. So, yeah, you can get in the best shape, but at the end of the day, you still got to go make some plays. Didn't do that. So that's fair. Yeah, if he had put him, I mean, other than that,
let me.
That's probably
okay. Not the disappointing of the year. Nowhere near it. Can we agree? Aleem McNeil, after getting paid the bag that he was while he was healthy this year, disappointing. Doesn't mean he was bad.
I wouldn't say disappointing. I would just say more so like you expected more. Like you were expecting a jump.
Yeah, you're twisting these words, bro.
Now you're trying. Okay, Booner. If you're expecting more and you don't get it, what are you? Disappointed. Okay, he's not disappointed. You just expected more.
If I'm being honest, Klotz, I would put him in the jack like in terms of next year. Like to me, next year is that like you just got paid next year. Like I expect production. I expect the presence. Like I expect him to take the same step. I mean, they're different points of their careers, but he's in that jack tier to me. Like I could have easily made the argument earlier that he has the most to prove. I could have easily brought that up. Because
actually, when we had the conversation before the show, we were just kind of going through our show rundown. That was one of the guys I think I mentioned ideas for, if we wanted to pick. I was like, hey, someone can say Aleem. Like I genuinely think Aleem next season has a lot to prove. So yeah, disappointment, I guess. Yeah, Trey said it perfectly. Booner means moderately disappointed. Love that. So I'm not like very disappointed because he still was a dog.
There's a spectrum.
Yeah, there was games where he still made a massive impact. I just think more so it was yeah. I mean, we were expecting we're going over saying get the man 8 to 10 sacks this year, and I don't 3 maybe. I don't know. 4. I don't know how many he had, but
yeah. I mean,
it wasn't 10.
Next year, I mean, that's the jump you expect out of Aleem. So we'll see what happens there. Healthy defensive line.
3.5 this year.
And
that was with DJ Reader too.
You know what I heard? A side note, Klotzy. I know we were talking the other day about Ashton Gentry in the first round. You know what I heard Todd McShay say today? Side note. Nah, this is just
Travion Henderson.
No,
tell me it's not Travion. Oh,
he said this is one of the deepest running back classes he's seen in a long time.
It is. I've been saying this.
We've talked
about
the running back.
Don't be surprised, especially late in the first round, if teams can't come up or either trade back and they take a running back, move back, get assets. You need a running back, take one.
I'm just delivering the message.
Give me your top 5, Klotz.
Top 5 running backs
in order.
I'm just delivering the message.
1 obviously would be Gentry. 2 would be Scottie. 3 would be honestly in the NFL. Who's the kid out of Iowa, Boone? I'm blanking on his name.
Caleb Johnson.
And
you know what, too? I saw the worst report. Oh, my gosh. Ben Johnson has a connection to Iowa, and they want to bring in Caleb Johnson. And I love him, dude. He is so
he's
good.
Fucking good.
And they want to bring him into Chicago, which that would be great for their offense. Sorry, keep going. That's not me. Love
think.
Caleb Johnson.
I'm trying to think of 5. I don't know that 5 got to be reserved for like a small school guy. I'll have to dig.
Good.
We'll leave the 5th spot open. Ollie Gordon will
Mekhi
take
Hughes.
for now.
Oh no, Mekhi Hughes is a sophomore. Sorry.
Scatterbo has 0 wiggle. Silent does not matter. Does not matter. That dude's a Charger. He's going to be in Jim Harbaugh's offense. I hope Scatterbo does not stay in the division because he's only going to be good by like how he plays for probably like 3-4 years. Like during that 3-4 year stretch, like he's going to be fucking good.
If no one watched Iowa the last few years and has seen Caleb Johnson play, go watch Caleb Johnson because he will move up quick on your board. He is so good.
Too.
I've seen him play.
Was only a couple days ago, to be honest.
Tennessee, yeah, he got it.
Hey, I've seen Caleb Johnson play a million times now, and I remember I think I introduced him to Jeff at one point where I said, "Look at this guy." I don't know what we were doing. We were somewhere watching the game, and he had like 300 all-purpose yards or 250, like 4 touchdowns, and this guy's legit. Like, and he's going to be very good in the NFL. Like, someone can get a steal with him, and if he goes to the Bears, I'm going to be
too, man. That's a good pick for the Bears. If
he can catch the ball in the backfield. I mean, he can go between the tackle. He can do everything, and he does it at a high level. Powerful, fast,
he's very, very good. 2nd round pick. Very good.
Elite second round
he's
pick.
No
yeah, that'd be great.
He's no Jameer.
I don't know who I'd comp him to be honest.
Okay.
Breece Hall.
I'm excited to see him at the combine, actually. His stock can move up quick. That second and third running back position can move around a lot at the combine, to be honest. That's a big one to watch out when we go to see how those guys test.
I'm seeing more Jackson Dart in the first round, too.
I think Jackson Dart's going to be very good in the NFL. I think he's going to find a team. And
Think the Raiders take a chance on him?
They need a quarterback. And if they don't get Shador, yeah.
Like if he lights up pro day, combine interviews.
There's always
him or Dylan Gabriel. I think if Shador doesn't fall, if I'm the Raiders, I'm finding a way to get him or Dylan Gabriel in the building.
Steelers,
yeah, I mean Jackson Dart's 21 years old. Like he's if I'm a GM, like yeah, I'm interested.
By the way, Weezy asked the Penn State running back. Both of the Penn State running backs are actually
returning.
Staying. Yes. Yeah. Singleton and then the other guy who he started coming on towards the second half of the year. Can't remember his name. I had actually bet on him a lot too. He was getting like 80 yards a game. His line just kept staying at 37, 40. It was wild.
Yeah, they got good running backs too. Both of them had 1,000 yards.
Everyone's returning to Penn State. And then they added the DC from Ohio State, dude. Like,
yeah,
they legit they'll have a good chance next year.
That's bro, Jim Knowles.
They didn't let him celebrate.
That's crazy.
Disrespectful, Klotz. Yeah. Ashamed of that program.
Because he's been there a while too.
Just like it's a good team, but Ryan Day is just
culture's
shadow. It's a shadow. It's a shadow of what it was.
Hey, anyone can win with talent. Celebrate. Can you build a culture?
That's what I grew up watching.
All right.
Anyone can win with talent.
Like an old head. Love Jeremiah Smith though.
Yeah, get your questions ready. I mean, we're 2 minutes away from mailbag. So
Drop some mailbag.
Yeah, we can just get to it, honestly.
It's a weird Friday show. You know, Friday, nothing much going on.
No pick.
Kind of just like our first Friday with like off-season Friday tour. And Fridays are usually like a pumped up Friday one. Yeah. It's been a good week though.
I see Steve says Gentry to Chicago. Watch this happen.
I hope not, man. I hope
not.
It
will be better for them if they can pick someone in the first round and that's not Gentry, and they can get Caleb Johnson in the second. Like that will be like scarier to me. That would be scarier to me, honestly.
True.
Adding another piece. Yeah, dude. Like imagine them adding an offensive lineman in the draft in the first round, and then also getting Caleb Johnson for a Ben Johnson offense. Like that should be scarier than Gentry. What?
It's a smart GM approach, Booner.
That is, yeah. And Ben knows that too. Ben's been in Detroit. What has Detroit always done?
Get the line.
Until they got Jahmyr Gibbs, but they went after the offensive line for the longest.
Take the big fellas. Take the big fellas. Bulls turn. Mailbag. Thoughts on Ronnie Bell? Does he make the roster?
No.
Ronnie Bell?
Love Ronnie. He's young still, but
he's a good special teamer.
Yeah.
I don't know what else he is. He did that a lot with the 49ers, but
I'd like
maybe
to
he
see
could
him
shock
camp.
you. Yeah. Maybe he can shock the world.
He'll be the Durice Fountain.
I like him better in camp than like Caden Davis. No disrespect. He got the passes to the Browns this year. Was it the Bengals? Maybe one of the two.
Let's see. Dom Yusuf, mailbag. Fair to say QB can't be ignored by Brad this year, considering Goff's historically bad performances against the Bills and Commanders. Well, the Bills, I think
he played very good.
Is it a question or a statement?
Yeah, is it fair to say? Do you think the Lions will even consider a quarterback, basically?
No.
I mean, no, I don't think so. They signed him to a long-term deal. It's pointless. What are you going to do? Draft a quarterback and then what? Have him sit for the next 4 years?
Yeah.
Like
I'd imagine Hendon stays.
Yeah, you just.
Yeah, I'd rather just keep Hendon at that point. So yeah,
shout out Dom though, but like throwing
Dom. If I remember correctly, Dom, you were the one that said Jalen Milroe yesterday. Make the Lions draft him. So we got to have.
He's trying to get us to get on the Jalen, but we didn't bring up Milroe in that group of quarterbacks.
Yeah,
we need to sit down.
Todd McShay was roasting him today too. I was watching him and Ryan Russillo. Ryan Russillo is awesome. Easy.
Oh, Ryan's great, dude. They were at the Senior Bowl though. Like everyone coming out of the Senior Bowl is like, how bad.
Oh, he said he was missing. Like he was making easy throws look hard, but he has touch on like his deep ball. So his thing is like maybe he can go to a team where there's like a great staff in place to like develop him a little bit. Like Josh Allen was inaccurate. Not saying he'll be Josh Allen, but my point is like you guys can work on it. Like Jalen Hurts coming out. Like, he wasn't.
What's
good.
his name?
He wasn't that good either. But
drawing a blank.
I wouldn't take. I would. That's like the project thing. It's like unless you're a team that needs a quarterback and you can't get one.
Boone's thinking those gears are turning. Boone.
Joe Milton. Crazy deep ball, crazy arm, touch.
Yeah, at least Joe had
short.
the measurables too. I liked it.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's just like those short, easy routes. Like
that's fair.
Like he's got that deep ball. He's got the touch with that and everything.
Dude, you see him? He played well in his one start.
He lit it up.
Dude, Joe Milton. As much as I've roasted Joe Milton, I was like, no way.
Patriots fans are just like,
they
Joe Milton for quarterback one. That's kind of funny. What's crazy is that last week, boys, I had sent you guys week 18 parlay, and it was like, hey, this is I always do that. I send the NFL parlay for the whole day. One leg didn't hit. It was like an 8-leg. One leg didn't hit, and I don't think the Patriots said anything, but they played. Drake May was in all the sports books at over under 220.5, or no one in the world knew they were going to sit Drake May. He had one drive and then they took him out. And that was my loss. I had Drake May to throw for 175, the easiest number. And they just went with Joe Milton, but no one knew. Even Vegas didn't know. No one knew. I feel like it's illegal. That should be illegal.
I mean,
it was a heartbreaker, dude.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jalen Milroe. Jeez, yeah, no. Yeah, I'll pass. I just saw in there Mike Payton, who Mike Payton's awesome. I mean, we had him on the show before, but I saw a comment saying he wants Jalen Milroe. I hope not. Tell me it ain't true, Mike Payton, please.
Mike, come on. We're out on the quarterbacks this year.
Yeah. Bottom line mailbag. Who do you think is the 5th best quarterback in the league? The general consensus is that Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Burrow are the top 4. The 5th is kind of up in the air.
Burrow.
Yeah, this is kind of like the start of the second tier. I think as of right now, I'd probably go Stafford. Trying to think who else I could put in there. Probably missing an obvious one, I feel like. AFC North, Lamar, Burrow, both there. AFC East, no. AFC South, Stroud sucked this year. To
Silent's point, it says it has to be between Baker, Goff, or Stafford.
I would throw Jaden Daniels in, if you want to pick.
Yeah. I got to see him next year just because what we saw to Stroud. It's just very common. But if he comes back.
I think this season the best quarterback out of the NFC was Jaden Daniels, personally. I think Goff too, but I mean just the skill level wise, when we're talking about those guys, Lamar, Burrows, those types of players, Jaden Daniels.
He's in that conversation.
Yeah, he looks the closest to that type of play, that level of play. I don't know if he's there yet consistently because there were games this year where he didn't. But for a Goff, how consistent Goff is. It
is kind of that CJ strike. Last year, this was the Stroud position, and then now it's in out Stroud in another rookie. We just I gotta say, as of right now, there. But yeah, because Stroud should be there, dude. Based off last year, Stroud should be that guy. He should be right in this conversation.
Let's all play both sides. I'm in on that one. He's there, but you still got to see it. I'm kidding. No.
All right, Steve
that
said,
boxing one now.
Mailbag, just home straight up in the first round again.
Yeah, I think so.
He's done it 3 of his 4 drafts. So if the numbers tell you he's hitting at a 70, he only hasn't done it in his first draft when he drafted Penei Sewell. Every other draft he's traded up. So I would say yes. If I had to put my money on it, I think it would be minus 150 for him to make a trade up in the first round. He always does. That's his
Yeah, I think he will. I see people talking about the heavy. So the heavy's still alive?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this, dude. I think it's the funny dude. Nick's hair, by the way. I just went and looked to see if they were live, and Nick's just standing in the camera with that hair. First thing that pops in my mind is they had the Lady Jane's people cut their hair. They're all gone. Who's cutting Nick's hair? He's got to walk around like that for how long?
That's a hat. That's a hat for sure.
That is the craziest thing. If I was him, I would just be let's just shave it all off to a certain point. Once we get to a certain point in the night, just let it go. He's got to go bald. He can't not go bald.
Yeah, you can't.
When you cut just one part of the top of your head, you're going bald.
That's the old school monks type thing.
They would have
the Christian monks and stuff. Yeah. Vikings, Boone. Great show. Telling you, watch it. I've been telling you for months to watch Vikings. Did you watch The Boys?
No, I haven't.
Great show. I'm about to finish it tonight, actually, probably.
I think I'm going to start. I think I'm going to maybe watch Severance.
What?
There's a new show called Severance.
Watch The Boys.
Yeah.
For good things about that show. I haven't watched it.
I'm in the middle of a show right
CPO.
now. Lee
Trust your
McNeil gave
CPO.
me a show to watch, and I've been watching it.
I just watched the O.J. Simpson documentary. Random. He did it. Yeah, he did it. I already knew that before, but after that doc,
It's crazy.
He definitely did that shit.
That's the one. Is that on HBO or Netflix?
It's on Netflix. It's great.
I think I saw it. I think it came out was it the one that came out recently?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, like they go through like evidence that they didn't even use at the trial, or like witnesses that like clearly or like had huge testimonies and they weren't at the trial. Like there's so much shit they just fumbled on. So bad.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, it was. They fumbled bad.
Hey, by the way,
things too were like the random videos you'd see of OJ Simpson just publicly posting on his Instagram, like sports takes and like him out at golf.
OJ
Simpson. He'd like take a video with somebody and the person would be like, I do not want to be in a video post on OJ's stories Instagram. OJ Simpson's Instagram, and you could just see it in their eyes. And OJ just looks like a fucking serial killer. Like, that dude just had a screw loose.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, boys, Cade Cunningham 40 piece tonight with the win in Dallas. Well, I don't know if it was in Dallas, it's in Detroit, but still 40 piece.
That's
back to 500, Jeff.
35. We're getting there.
Back to 24 right now. 24 wins. How many games are they in right now? 48. About 35 left, right?
Mm-hmm. Need about 11.
So they're at 24, 35 left. All they need is 11. You need to win 11 of your last 38 games.
I hope they can do that. They should.
I hope they better. Yeah. That's huge, though. That's big for them.
Xavier D says the cops brought a vial of OJ's blood in his shoes at the crime scene after the crime. Hard to convict the guy after that. Yeah, they tried some shady shit. Yeah.
I wonder why come out now? Like I know it might be shitty to say, but why do it after he's dead? Like you've been sitting on this?
I forgot OJ died.
Yeah.
He'd be like, you know how awesome it'd be to like have him on for a guest and you just like unveil the vial of blood. You'd be like, you're cooked, bro. Like they could have had him on like a podcast style. Like, you know how they do like the Catch of Predators nowadays to catch OJ.
The thing in the show is the defense tries to set up OJ the prosecutors that they planted evidence. So that's what Xavier was saying. Like they brought a vial of OJ's blood in his shoes to the crime scene after the crime.
Oh,
so but my opinion, based on what I say, he fucking did it, dude.
Based on your own research,
I feel like they got pushed over
fishing with OJ.
Year,
like he didn't get convicted in the word.
No, I'm not hanging out with OJ, dude.
No, hell,
he did it. That means he killed someone. The man's got that side of him. You know,
he's got some screws loose.
Yeah, dude. You don't want to be around someone like that, dude. You know, just
first player to get 2,000 yards. Like that's kind of crazy.
Need supervision around.
Don't sleep on the GOAT. People don't talk about it enough. Underappreciated player.
No, I can't even do it. I can't even do it.
Very great broadcaster.
All right, hey, we'll get out of here.
Hey, tomorrow.
50.
Appreciate you all. Tomorrow, Caleb and Mike will be live early in the morning, so be there. I think they're up an hour earlier, so 9 a.m. So be there for those guys, man. Caleb's going to go off on the Pistons. Mike talk about the Red Wings. It'll be a good show. But until then, we appreciate you all. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.
Love you guys.
Peace.